Good morning. New Year misery on the trains as thousands of passengers face yet more delays and increased fares.
No better on the roads, I'm afraid, as breakdown calls reach a peak today and forecasters warn of snow tomorrow.
So, is it any surprise that more people are expected to throw a sickie today than any other day of the year? As many as 5 million people will stay tucked up in bed or maybe sneak off to the sales today. That's what we're talking about. It's Wednesday, the 2nd of January, and it's 2008. Happy New Year. Good morning. You're watching GMTV Today. It is coming up to 7 o'clock. We're going to have more on all of those stories from Priya in just a moment.
So are you back to work this morning? Maybe your partner's gone off to work and you're back at the kitchen sink with the kids, maybe lamenting how much you indulged over Christmas and the New Year. So what's the answer? Detox, diet, or the dreaded gym? Well, we've got a panel of experts to help get you into the shape that you want for 2008.
Some suggestions for you this morning, certainly. Also coming up this month is a busy time for divorce lawyers. Almost as busy as the January sales. You said that was a look like you knew it.
I know, it just feels like it's a wall-to-wall misery this morning. If you've been rowing with your partner and feel enough's enough, well, it's not too late to take a step back and spread a bit of love. We're going to be talking about that at 20 to 8.
It's not definitely the end. Also, we're going to be meeting the parents of a teenager who's been missing since Christmas Eve. This is Joshua Beasley. His family are desperate to trace him, as you can understand. His mum and dad are going to be here for your help and asking for that in about 10 minutes' time.
First, so let's get the day's news stories from Priya.
Thank you, Kate. Good morning. Tens of thousands of rail commuters who use the West Coast Main Line will face lengthy delays this morning because engineering works around Rugby haven't been completed on time. The delays have been condemned by passenger groups already angry at the above-inflation price rises on tickets that come into effect today. Well, Jackie Kabler's at Rugby Station this morning. Hello, Jackie.
Good morning, Priya. Yes, the West Coast Main Line is one of the busiest in the country, and with the engineering works based around Rugby overrunning for the third successive day, there are huge problems for people trying to get to work this morning. Virgin Trains here are saying that people really should try and find alternative routes and not travel by train because their journey times might have to be extended by up to 2 hours. Now, here at Rugby, they have brought in buses. There are no trains leaving from here at the moment. They've got buses to try and help people to get to their destinations, but really, people are quite cross. We've been speaking to some people this morning who aren't very happy about this at all. And as you said, it comes as rail companies around the country are putting their prices up, some up to 10% or more, and many passengers furious about this, saying they're going to carry out fare strikes and just do not want to pay these increased prices for what they feel is a shoddy service. Let's take a look at some of the prices that people are going to have to pay. If you want to buy an annual season ticket from Canterbury to London, that's gone up by over 11% to £3,480 for the year. The same ticket between Oxford and Maidenhead up nearly 10% to £2,488. And a similar annual season ticket from Warrington to Manchester, that's gone up by nearly 5% to £1,288. Other problems around the country include Liverpool Street Station in London being closed at the moment. Trains, passengers having to find alternative routes there as well. So really, it's a pretty bad start to the new year. West Coast Main Line having these problems, people all around the country struggling to get to work, and the prices going up despite the service not exactly being what people would have hoped for, Priya.
Jackie, thank you. Efforts to find a peaceful resolution to the violence in Kenya have been stepped up after dozens of women and children were killed in a church fire. Around 270 people have died in riots triggered by Kenya's general election. Well, ITV News correspondent Neil Connery has just sent this report.
This is without doubt one of the most testing times that this nation has faced in recent years. Up to 50 people feared to have lost their lives inside that church yesterday, many of them women and children. They'd gone there to seek shelter. They are members of the Kikuyu tribe, supporters of the President, Moi Kibaki here, whose controversial re-election has sparked all of this election violence, and they died the most appalling death inside that church. Now, in terms of the politics, the opposition leader here, Raila Odinga, has made it clear that he's not backing down. He feels he was robbed in this presidential election. He's called for a rally to be held at Uhuru Park, about 5 or 10 minutes from where I am in Nairobi, on Thursday, and he says up to 1 million people will join that rally. But the police have made it clear they're not going to tolerate any rallies in Nairobi in the coming days, given what has happened over the past 72 hours. So as things stand at the moment, we have a very, very tense standoff indeed between President Moi Kibaki on the one hand and the opposition leader Raila Odinga.
Well, meanwhile, elections in Pakistan are to be delayed for at least a month following the assassination of Benazir Bhutto. That's despite threats from opposition groups who are demanding that the elections go ahead as planned on January the 8th. It's thought a delay could work in favour of the ruling party, led by President Pervez Musharraf. On the day that millions of us return to work, unless you're in Scotland that is, we're being urged to check that they're all getting the job benefits that we're entitled to. Many bosses are apparently unaware that workers are now entitled to 24 days paid holiday after the law changed last year. And the government says that many new parents don't realise that they can also benefit from extra leave. NHS patients are to be encouraged to treat their own conditions under cost-saving plans revealed today. It's reported that millions of people will be instructed in how to provide so-called self-care. Here's Edward Barron.
The policy of self-care is now a key plank of government cost-cutting plans, according to a document seen by the Daily Telegraph. Instead of going to hospital or consulting a doctor, patients with arthritis, asthma and even heart failure will be urged to treat themselves. This could include administering drugs and monitoring their own blood pressure and heart activity using equipment installed at home. Patient groups have expressed concern the move could lead to treatment being more difficult to obtain. But the Department of Health said it wasn't about cost-cutting and told us self-care plays a key role in improving the management of long-term conditions such as arthritis or diabetes. For people with those conditions, self-care has become increasingly important in improving well-being, maintaining independence and quality of life.
More cars are expected to break down today than any other day of the year. That's due to a snap of cold weather forecast for this morning and cars being left idle over the Christmas holidays. Well, Matt Arnold is at the AA headquarters in Albury in the West Midlands. Morning, Matt.
Good morning to you, Priya. Yes, the holiday season is definitely over, with the majority of the country returning to work today. I can almost hear the groans as I say that. But if you're driving, beware, because 45,000 of us will need a breakdown service today. The organisation where I'm at this morning will handle 16,000 of those calls, up 70% on a normal Wednesday. Well, Adam Ashmore is the patrolman of the year. I was out with one of your patrols last night. It was a flat battery that we attended, and that's pretty common at this time, isn't it?
It is, most definitely.
Why is that?
Vehicles are left for a long period of time, left with perhaps with faults on them, interior lights on, flattens the battery off, and then you're in a no-start situation. OK, well, in the back of my car, we've got some kit assembled here. Good stuff to carry in the winter weather, which we're expecting this week. So what have we got and why have we got it? A warm waterproof coat, obviously essential. Hot drink, a torch with charged up batteries. De-icer, essential. You clean your windscreen thoroughly before you set off on your journey. Wellington boots, not for driving in. A full tank of fuel and a full fuel can. You can't go wrong with a warm blanket, and should the worst happen, there's a spade to dig you out of trouble as well.
OK, now where are the AA saying that the worst weather's going to be, Adam, in this next couple of days?
It's going to be in the West Midlands, the Midlands area.
Right,
and
where
down,
we are now.
Yeah, where we are now, exactly, and down to East Anglia.
OK, so this is a good kit to have. Let's hope none of you need it. Back to you, Priya.
Let's hope so. Thanks, Matt. Of course, on our website this morning, why workers are being encouraged to go green and cut carbon emissions in the workplace. And if your New Year's resolution is to get fit, well, we've got some tips and advice on how to get started. All that and more on GM.TV. It's just coming up to 7 minutes past 7. Here's what's happening where you are.
Thank you. Good morning. The main stories here in the northwest. 2 men are now being held by officers investigating the attempted murder of a Lancashire policewoman. 29-year-old PC Katie Johnson was shot in the leg as she confronted a man during a robbery at the Hospital Inn pub in Bamber Bridge near Preston. She's since been discharged from hospital and is recovering at home. Police say 3 men shot in Manchester on New Year's Eve were targeted by a lone gunman. One of the injured, who was 26, was pronounced dead after the victims drove themselves to North Manchester General Hospital. A second man suffered serious back injuries, while a third escaped with minor injuries. Greater Manchester Police say they were in a car on Huxley Avenue in Crumpsall when the gunman fired at them before escaping on foot. Ken Dodd is vowing to be back on stage next month after undergoing surgery for a hernia at a hospital in Liverpool. The comedian celebrated his 80th birthday last November. He was taken to hospital on New Year's Eve shortly after a sellout gig at Liverpool's Philharmonic Hall. He's expected to be home in the next couple of days. There will be no direct trains between the North West and London for a third successive day after engineering works overran on the West Coast Main Line. Virgin Trains say the disruption caused by Network Rail to thousands of commuters is unacceptable. Rail users are being advised to travel via Sheffield or Birmingham or find alternative means of travelling to the capital. Some soldiers from the Duke of Lancaster's regiment who are serving in Iraq are celebrating this new year after learning they'll be coming home early. Hundreds of the North West soldiers spent the holidays on duty with little break, but most members of the regiment will now come home in April. That's a month ahead of schedule.
You spend an awful lot of time training for an event like this. In our case, a good 6 months hard work. So for a number, it'll only be 3 months. Then they'll crack on, and then the rest of us will follow at about the 4.5, 5 month point. But that's good. It's in line with the mission. You know, we're not here for our own sakes. We're here to do a job, and we'll continue to do that to the best of our ability and get everybody out safely.
And you can see a special feature on the work of the Duke of Lancaster Regiment in Iraq on Granada Reports. That's tonight at 6, but that's it for now. I'm back at 8:05. In a moment, we'll return to Kate and Ben, but first, let's take a look at the region's weather.
Pantene Pro V Winter Rescue, forecasting a great hair day, whatever the weather. Sponsors of GMTV Weather.
This morning will be dull and damp with some rain at times, especially out towards the Pennines, making way for a mostly dry afternoon though, with a few sunny intervals across the south of the region. Temperatures peaking at 3 Celsius, 27 degrees Fahrenheit.
It's 7:10 now. Then every year 230,000 people go missing in the UK, and many of them are teenagers. 17-year-old Joshua Beasley disappeared on Christmas Eve and hasn't been seen since. His parents are desperate for him to get in touch, and they're here to talk to us in just a moment. First though, here's Anna Thomas.
For Joshua Beasley's family, Christmas and New Year have passed without celebration, with no clue as to the whereabouts of their teenage son, who they haven't seen since Christmas Eve. He spent that afternoon in a pub in southeast London. CCTV images show him leaving. He then went to this ice rink in Greenwich, left at around 5 o'clock, and nobody has heard from him since. Joshua's disappearance is said to be totally out of character. Studying for his A-levels, his parents describe him as a model student and a member of the National Youth Theatre. They're desperate to know he's safe and say their lives are on hold until he comes home.
Well, Joshua's mum and dad, Ruth Harrison and Paul Beasley, are with us now. Understandably, that's very difficult for you both to watch. Maybe I could come to you first, Paul. Tell us the last time you saw Joshua.
Well, I saw Joshua at 5:05, or the last sighting of Joshua was at 5:05 in Greenwich. He was leaving the ice rink. Yeah, he seemed to he got separated from his friends, who I think probably for the reason that they didn't want to go ice skating. Joshua did. He was actually quite good at it. So, and we'd done it before as a family, and so he made his own way to the ice rink and left at 5:05, headed towards Greenwich, which is no distance at all, and that is the last sighting.
Yeah, I mean, we said goodbye to him about 1 o'clock, so he's off to go to do a bit of shopping, go to the ice rink, see his mates before Christmas, and that was it, really.
You had no reason to suspect there was anything untoward going on?
Absolutely not. I mean, he was, he was a very happy kid, looking forward to Christmas, seeing his friends, then seeing family, going down to see my family and his granddad and cousins and stuff. Absolutely no reason at all, no.
And of course, Christmas is a very sort of exciting time for everybody, and equally it's difficult for you guys now because Joshua hasn't been there. What's this Christmas period been like?
Oh, well, it's just been... But it hasn't been one, there hasn't been a Christmas without him there.
Yeah. We turned the Christmas lights off on Christmas Day when Joshua failed to come home. And of course we made contact with the police as soon as we could, as soon as we realised that there was a problem. And indeed Christmas has been, it's not just a non-event, it's been a nightmare.
Yeah.
Not knowing.
Yeah.
It must be the hardest thing. I'm sure you've spoken about it and you must be turning it over in your head, but Ruth, have you got any idea what you think might have happened?
Well, the problem is, because we really know nothing more than we knew last week, I mean, your mind just goes mad, really. I mean, anything could have happened to this kid. We know certain things for sure. We know he's obviously not with his mates. He's not run away or done anything like that. I mean, he could be anywhere. You know, he could be doing anything. We really, and that's the worst part of it, is because your mind does just go, you know, and that's it, yeah.
I was looking at a picture of him there, and he looks like a very happy chap, and I know that he loves his drama, and he's doing his AS levels, got lots to look forward to. Tell us what he was like, or what he is like.
Well, he's a handsome, healthy, bright boy.
Yeah, he's very witty, charming, you know, and he's just a really a young man who's just starting to grasp life, really, you know, just starting to see what he can do, and, you know, great friends, and, yeah,
girlfriend,
just a
lovely girlfriend.
yeah, really gorgeous young man, really.
Beautiful sister.
Yeah, so of course his sister's at home and has been missing her big brother as well, which must be very difficult. Yeah. Joshua could well be watching this, or someone he knows or knows where he is could be watching this morning. What would you like to say to them?
Well, Joshua, come home, give us a call. And of course, it's witnesses. We need a sighting. We need a clue of someone in Greenwich on Christmas Eve between 5:30 who may have seen a young man making his way towards Greenwich, or perhaps back to the ice rink. A lot of people walking around, a lot of traffic.
It's busy, isn't it?
And bizarrely, the CCTV hasn't helped us.
Well, not yet. No, it's a lot of stuff.
The police are working very hard.
They are. I mean, the police are being really supportive. And I think, yes, that's it. I mean, if Joshua's out there seeing it, as Paul said, you know, it doesn't matter. You know, if you can't talk to us, then speak to someone who knows us, you know. All we need to know is that you're safe. You know, otherwise, if anyone's seen him anywhere, really, you know, just phone the police straight away. You know, he's... we're not even sure he had any money on him or anything, you know.
The slightest thing can make
just the slightest thing, and that's what we need and what the police need at this moment in time.
Okay, well, look, obviously our thoughts are with you at the moment.
Thank
Ruth and Paul, thank you very much for coming in, and pass on our regards to Rowan as well.
We will.
And let's hope that we can find him.
Yeah, OK, thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
OK.
It's now 7:15, and the main headlines you're waking up to this morning are that tens of thousands of rail commuters face price rises and lengthy delays this morning because engineering works at Rugby have not been completed on time. Diplomatic efforts have been stepped up to end the post-election violence in Kenya, where hundreds have been killed. And today's weather. Rain over Scotland will die out this afternoon. The rest of the country will be dry with a few bright spells in the west. Temperatures peaking at 7 Celsius, but it could feel much colder because of the wind.
We've got lots more to come between now and 9:25. Christopher Biggins is our guide through tonight's telly at about 10 to 8.
And up next is the start of a new year. Being positive, despite today being the most depressing day of the year. Apparently we all want to get divorced, we're all miserable, we're all broke.
We just want to stay in bed.
Christmas. We're all staying in bed. You can stay in bed and watch us, though, can't you?
What a nice idea.
What a lovely look. That'll cheer you up. What else have we got to look forward to in 2008? We've got some ideas coming up next. So many of us are back to work for the first time today with the turkey, the chocolates, and the rest of Christmas. Just a distant memory apart from around the waist.
Yes, of course.
That's trying to do your button up this morning, I know.
The start of the new year often means a diet, a detax, or signing up for the gym that then is never visited. So what's the best way to shift those stubborn pounds? There's only a few too many there.
I love the way it's all men we've picked. Brilliant, brilliant. It's all about the boys.
How do you know that's a man?
Well, I don't know. I've learned a few things over the years.
It's the tie, that's what gave it away.
Yeah.
What we want to know is what you're going to be doing to try and get rid of those pounds. Are you going to be doing the detox, the diet, maybe the gym? Text us to 67890. Your text will cost 25 pence plus your standard network charge. Terms and conditions can be found at gm.tv/terms. The text may also appear on our website. We've got a panel of experts for you. They're going to trawl through all your texts and emails and answer all your questions and try to come up with what the best way is to lose weight in 2008. The problem is, with all of those thoughts, all that problem about detoxing and all this, that and the other, there's not really that much you would have thought to look forward to in 2008, is there? No, not really. It does seem a bit bleak, doesn't it? Because we're all a bit poor and a bit tired and, you know, hate our partners and kids driving us mad, all of that. Fortunately, though, Richard Mackney has been doing a lot of research into reasons to be cheerful in 2008.
We're just trying to find from people things to look forward to over the next year, reasons to be cheerful.
Give you one answer, still living.
Oh, OK. That's a positive thing.
Yes, 2008, the year that'll be warm enough to live outside. Perfect timing for those of us whose homes get repossessed in the forthcoming financial crisis.
Any sort of things over the next year that's going to be good.
Well, I would have said the football, but that's not going to happen now, is it?
No, we don't mention that.
Yes, look forward to Euro 2008 the British way. And get to know the man who'll make millions of pounds and only win the title of most hated man in England. On this, the Chinese Year of the Rat, it's the 10th anniversary of Bill and that woman. Why not celebrate with your secretary or personal assistant? And look forward to another year of fun with Britney Spears and rumours that Michael Jackson's getting back together.
You're saying, life is good. Let's have some things.
I'm here. I'm spending time with my daughter.
She looks delighted.
You got anything good?
No. You want specific?
I want to know where the hell New Bond Street is. Okay.
What do you have to look forward to?
I don't know. Or finishing this item. I think probably.
And this year it's happy 50th birthday to you, happy 70th to you, and Mr. Entertainment himself. Yes, happy 80th birthday, Bruce Forsyth. And of course, there's always good old GMTV, here for you every morning with our own playful brand of fun.
Can you just get out of here? Andrew, can you just deal with this?
I'm just doing nothing but trouble.
No.
I'm just doing a thing. I'm doing a thing.
You don't even work here. As we were saying.
There you go, Penny Smith. You can look forward to Penny Smith
Yes.
in 2008. What more do you need?
We can all look forward to Penny Smith.
What about the weather, Claire?
Something to cheer you up.
Hurrah!
Yes.
Oh, look at that. What's that person looking over your shoulder in a lovely white
They're
scarf?
looking at all the lovely daffodils.
Oh.
Daffodils, some of the daffodils are out, but sadly, winter is arriving again. Later on today, yes, we've had a little taste of winter, last year, didn't we? The end of last year.
Cold.
It was cold, -11 a couple of days in northern Scotland. Let's have a look and see what's happening today.
GMTV weather, sponsored by Nestlé Shredded Wheat. Shredded wheat and hot milk. They're a perfect winter warm-up.
So it's becoming bitterly cold over the next 48 hours, and we'll see some snow in places, particularly the east and the south, with some snow showers slowly arriving as we head through tonight. During the early hours of the morning, we can see 1 or 2 snow flurries, and then during tomorrow we're likely to see perhaps even 5, perhaps even higher centimetres depths of snow along this stretch of the country here. Down towards the south, the rain moves up and it hits the cold air. We're likely to see some snow here as we head through to tomorrow into Friday, when slowly the weather will ease. Currently, though, there's a lot of cloud around and also some outbreaks of rain. The good news today is there's not a lot of weather around apart from the wind, but through this morning we'll see that cloud breaking up in the south and we'll see the rain ease in the north. But the wind will pick up later, so look at these temperatures by the afternoon, 2 or 3 degrees Celsius, so turning much, much colder as we head through this evening. So tonight then, it's going to be a bitterly cold night, a hard frost, and we'll see the first of the snow coming in. I'd say it's snow flurries across this eastern side of the country, down towards northeastern areas of England, 1 or 2 sort of flakes coming in during the early hours, and then as we head through tomorrow, that's when it really moves in. Down towards the south, and another area of cloud and rain moves across. So tomorrow morning, as the rain slowly moves in, we could see that turning to snow. So tomorrow then, it's going to be freezing cold wherever you are. This is around mid-morning. You can see best will be in the west, where you'll see some sunshine. Those snow showers really get going through the morning into the afternoon, as you can see, becoming more widespread across eastern Scotland to eastern England. To the west, that's where we're likely to see some good sunny spells. Northwest England probably getting away with some dry weather. Dry weather across much of East Anglia as well as the Midlands until later on in the day. By then, though, this area of cloud and rain will move up with some very strong winds hitting the cold air, turning to snow away from the far west country, where you are likely to see that as rain. Wales then, where it's a chilly start to the day, at least there you'll see some sunshine, particularly in the north. And for Northern Ireland, it's a bright start today, 1 degree Celsius here. So it's going to be cold wherever you are tomorrow, and that really leads into a cold afternoon. Those snow showers continue along this eastern side here, down towards East Anglia as well as the Midlands as that rain moves up. Best will be in the west, where we will continue to see the dry weather. And then on Friday, well, slowly but surely the weather will ease, I say. The clouds and rain moves in from the west, and as you can see, more outbreaks of rain coming in. The wind still is very strong, and for the weekend, it's wet and windy on Saturday. Brighter weather slowly moving in on Sunday. Here's your summary. For your local 5-day weather update, visit our website, gm.tv.
Now, still to come, the one, the only, Christopher Biggins with his very unique guide to what we should be watching on TV tonight. What we should be watching, that sounds a bit sort of hectoring.
Well, that's what he does. He
yeah,
hectors.
Professional, he's a professional hectorer.
And was it a fractious Christmas and New Year in your house? Apparently, divorce lawyers are as busy this month as the January sales. But how can you avoid the divorce courts? We're talking about that in 15 minutes' time. First, though, we're going to get a news update from Priya.
Thank you, Ben. Good morning. Rail passengers are facing above-inflation fare rises from today. Some unregulated fares will rise by more than 9%. Passenger groups are calling the hikes unfair and unjustified. Meanwhile, commuters on the West Coast Main Line are facing major disruption this morning because of engineering works at Rugby, which have overrun by 3 days. Efforts to find a peaceful resolution to the violence in Kenya have been stepped up after dozens of women and children were killed in a church fire. Around 270 people have now died in riots triggered by Kenya's general election. ITV News correspondent Neil Connery has sent this report.
This is without doubt one of the most testing times that this nation has faced in recent years. Up to 50 people feared to have lost their lives inside that church yesterday, many of them women and children. They'd gone there to seek shelter. They are members of the Kikuyu tribe, supporters of the President, Moi Kibaki here, whose controversial re-election has sparked all of this election violence, and they died the most appalling death inside that church. Now, in terms of the politics, the opposition leader here, Raila Odinga, has made it clear that he's not backing down. He feels he was robbed in this presidential election. He's called for a rally to be held at Uhuru Park, about 5 or 10 minutes from where I am in Nairobi, on Thursday, and he says up to 1 million people will join that rally. But the police have made it clear they're not going to tolerate any rallies in Nairobi in the coming days, given what has happened over the past 72 hours. So as things stand at the moment, we have a very, very tense standoff indeed between President Moi Kibaki on the one hand and the opposition leader Raila Odinga.
Police are appealing for help in tracing missing teenager Joshua Beasley. The 17-year-old was last seen on Christmas Eve. He's known to have been at an ice rink in Greenwich in southeast London on the afternoon of his disappearance. Earlier, he was caught on CCTV leaving a pub in the area. His family say there is no reason why he should have gone missing.
He was, he was a very happy kid, looking forward to Christmas, seeing his friends, then seeing family, going down to see my family and his granddad and cousins and stuff. Absolutely no reason at all, no.
4 people are still being questioned following the death of a teenager in Leicester. 16-year-old Bradley Whitfield died reportedly after being attacked with a broken bottle. 2 teenagers are among those arrested. And police in Edmonton in North London are hunting the killer of an 18-year-old man. He was stabbed to death after a fight outside a supermarket. Anti-drug campaigners have criticised a police chief for saying that ecstasy is safer than aspirin. The head of the North Wales Police Force, Richard Brunstrom, insisted in an interview that there was too much scaremongering over the dangers of illegal drugs.
If you look at the government's own research into death, you'll find that ecstasy, by comparison to many other substances, legal and illegal, is a comparatively safe substance. It's far safer than aspirin.
Gordon Brown is reportedly planning to keep 24-hour drinking laws, despite suggestions that they could be axed. It's thought the Prime Minister will instead tackle the culture of drinking with a crackdown on those who sell alcohol to the underaged. Parents will also be encouraged to educate their children about the dangers of drink. Finally, the most famous pub in Britain is to close for a refit. Corrie's Rovers Return is expected to shut its doors in April for drastic alterations, and the nation's favourite watering hole may never be the same again. It's claimed it might be reopened as a gastropub or trendy wine bar. Very posh. Now then, it's 7:31, just coming up to 7:31. Back to Ben and Kate.
Thank you very much.
No, what's going on?
Trendy wine bar on the cobbles.
Come and work, will it? They
Why
don't want
not?
spritzers.
You say that.
Well, they might do. Maybe it's me. It's all old-fashioned.
All new for 2008 on the cobbles. A spritzer, please. Coming up in the next half an hour, we're going to meet the brother and sister who both need life-saving bone marrow transplants. Their mum's here to tell us that they need to find a suitable donor and fast, but it's not easy at all.
And up next, that fallout from Christmas. Is there any way back from those terribly damaging rows which have split partners and families over the holidays? We're going to be talking about that next. See you in a bit. Hi Ben, now for some families the festive season of course is filled with joy and laughter, but for others spending all that intense time together can lead to all-out war, frankly. So was Christmas anything like this in your home this year?
The festive season should be a time of cheer and forgiveness, but for many people Christmas is less like a nativity and more like a war zone. Women often blame their partners for too much time playing with gadgets or video games, and if money's tight in your household, the extra spending on Christmas goodies will only lead to extra pressure on your relationship. Spats over presents and annoying family members can turn into a large-scale argument, and for many couples divorce could well be on the cards after the strains of the festive holidays. So much for the season of goodwill.
Indeed. Well, Julian Drucker reporting there. Relationship expert Vanessa Lloyd-Platt joins us now. Good to speak to you this morning.
Good morning.
It is a sort of a time of great intensity, I think, isn't it? You're physically sort of often locked in together because the weather's not great outside, and emotionally all sorts of things tend to surface, don't they?
Well, they do. There's a lot of rows about family over Christmas. You know, have you preferred your family to his family or vice versa, or have they got better presents? And I also think it's people's expectations are very high over Christmas and New Year, and particularly this year, New Year was quite a disappointment for people, and we've been hearing because people have built it up so much and suddenly it didn't happen in the way they wanted, so a lot of people felt a bit frustrated, and that's when the friction can really start. Finances, of course, are very much on the card this year. We saw the beginnings and rumblings of it even before Christmas, that people feel that this year is going to be a difficult year financially. Don't max out his credit card at the moment, or vice versa, because it's going to lead to incredible friction.
Yeah. I also think there's the kind of whole, it's all about expectations, isn't it? I don't know whether Ben's like this. I'm guessing he probably is. Certainly Derek is. His idea is that, you know, he goes home for Christmas, he walks in the door and he opens the tin of chocolate, and that's pretty much his focus for the next sort of 2 or 3 days. You know what I mean? Sitting there, being waited on hand and foot. Whereas for the women, for the mum, it's actually a really stressful time. You go back to work for a bit of a rest, don't you? All that
you see mums, their expectation is that dads are going to be around and they're going to take over and spend some time with the children and do their thing. And of course, for guys, they think, well, this is my rest time. You know, what you talking about? And I know we had a phone call left on our answer phone at work from one woman, very, very angry. What had been the final straw for her? Her husband had been given one of these phones that, you know, stretch up, down and sideways. He'd spent the entire holiday inputting time zones from Montreal to New York, and she said he doesn't even travel. What is the big deal about inputting time zones?
The day, though.
So you'd love all that.
Yeah, guys love that, you know, and women do not understand that. But, you know, certainly it is actually very easy to keep women happy in the new year. All you have to understand, you guys...
Washing in the dryer?
No, Ben. No, Ben. You have to give them a hug and tell them they're wonderful. So today is going
you want
to
be appreciated, don't you?
Yeah,
You just want to know that all that hard work actually mattered.
A bit of appreciation.
I hate it when you say, "Oh, I've done all this," and they say, "Well, don't bother with it next year." It's not the point. It's not don't bother with it next year. The point is you want, you know.
That's asking for them to come into my office. But what you have to do is recognise today should be National Hug Day. You have to turn around to your partner and give them a big hug and tell them that you really appreciate what they did, whether you're the man or the woman, but particularly the man, because women feel very put upon at this moment in time, and we know from the phone calls we're already getting to say thank you. And women,
thank you, and give them a hug.
Be careful about overspending at the moment, because it makes men very nervous at this time of year. Very
to be honest, in my experience. All right, okay, well that's a good idea, National Hug Day. And I suppose the other thing is to remember it is a very odd period, Christmas, isn't it? You know, it's very odd. It doesn't mean to say necessarily your relationship's over.
No, it doesn't.
All come back from that.
Absolutely, and I think people shouldn't rush in, because people do tend to rush in like the first day of the sales and into lawyers' offices at this time of year. Take stock, really do think about it, because that first letter can set off a chain that you really don't want.
Maybe if there are things under the surface, take in the calmer new year, have a look at those.
And I also think you need to talk to each other. Just talk about things. It's the best way forward.
Very good advice. We'd like to know your thoughts on this. Do talk to us. You can get in touch via the website, where you can also find lots of help and advice if you're worried about your relationship. Log on to GMTV. Why do you need the time zone of Samoa?
Well, but you never know. What happens if something happens in Samoa? You might need to go there. I'm very good at showing my appreciation, though, Vanessa.
Are you?
I always tell Annie when food's cooked well, you know, when the cleaning's been done properly.
Helpful tips if it hasn't gone correctly.
Yeah, of course.
Ben, you're a bit of a chauvinist, aren't you?
No, well, you say that. I just think she likes to know her place.
He just thinks it's standards. Anyway.
I'm an old-fashioned guy, Vanessa.
He
What can I
needs to
say?
talk to you later, basically. Is what he's
No, I
saying.
think I
And
need
he's
to
probably
talk
on
to
the
his wife
phone.
later.
Yeah, exactly.
The time is 20 minutes to 8. These are the main headlines that you're waking up to this morning. Tens of thousands of rail commuters face price rises and lengthy delays this morning because of engineering works at Rugby that have not been completed on time.
Diplomatic efforts have been stepped up to end the post-election violence in Kenya, where hundreds have been killed.
And today's weather, rain over Scotland will die out this afternoon. The rest of the country will be dry with a few bright spells in the west. Temperatures will peak at 7 degrees Celsius, but it's going to feel much colder in the wind. Now, the new year's barely begun, but today is expected to be the busiest day of the whole year for breakdown calls. And with the forecasters predicting snow for many places tomorrow, it could be a truly miserable start to 2008 on the roads. The Midlands is expected to bear the brunt of the Siberian blast, and Matt Arnold is in Oldbury for us this morning. It's not looking great, Matt.
Darkest Siberia here in Oldbury. Ben, Happy New Year to you. Well, of course, this is the day when everybody goes back to work, so that's one of the reasons why we're expecting so many more breakdowns. Nationally, statistically, 45,000 people are going to be calling out the motoring organisations today, and in this call centre alone, they're planning to handle 300 calls every 15 minutes. And if I was to ask all you guys what the biggest fault is with cars that are breaking down this morning, what would it be? Oh, I thought we might need some jump leads just to get this lot going, but that is apparently the case, and to prove it, last night I went out on a patrol, and that was indeed the very situation that we had to attend. 23-year-old Satya Sada had been spending New Year with friends in Birmingham, but when it came to going home to Coventry, his car wouldn't start.
It's a Renault Laguna.
5 miles away in the call centre, operators are steeling themselves for 16,000 call-outs nationally today. That's 70% up on any normal Wednesday.
It's a return to work. People haven't used their cars properly for the last couple of weeks.
Karen Alcock takes Satya's call and gets help on the way.
Hello, just calling to let you know we've got a patrol on his way. Hopefully he'll be there in about 30 minutes.
Brad Wilkes is the patrolman off to get Satya mobile again.
I've spoken to him and he knows you're on your way.
Okay.
Cars that have been idle over Christmas or sitting in damp, cold conditions ideally need a run before they need to be relied upon for work.
I think the best thing for me to do is possibly to take the relay out.
Satya's problem is a faulty cooling fan relay. His battery is draining every time he stops the car.
Batteries are going to be probably one of the biggest shouts in the morning.
With the Highways Agency warning about snow till Friday across parts of Britain, Satya won't be the only one needing assistance this week. Well, we've moved out into the cold now here at Oldbury, and with me is Adam Ashmore, Patrolman of the Year. Nice to meet you. It's a fantastic title. I suppose people like you are actually looking forward to getting your teeth stuck into a busy workload on a day like today.
Yeah, it's certainly better. The busier it is, the quicker the day goes.
Now, we saw Satya last night with his flat battery problem. I know they were all having a laugh in there about it, but that is a major consideration because of the Christmas break, I suppose.
That's right, yeah. Vehicles laid up, possibly with the interior lights left on, or slightly faulty batteries that are masked by the everyday start-up. You know, today's the day when you find out.
All right, Adam, but we're going to have cold weather as well, which is why we've got this kit assembled in the back of my car. Let's hope I don't need it, but tell me what you've assembled here and why it's so important.
Warm waterproof coat. Obviously, you don't want to be caught outside, stood outside, even on the hard shoulder of a motorway, getting soaking wet. A warm drink in a flask, a torch with good batteries, ready to go. De-icer, de-ice all your windscreen thoroughly before you set off on your journey. Wellington boots, not for driving in, a full tank of fuel and a full fuel can. You won't go wrong with a warm blanket, and should the worst happen, there's a spade to dig you out of trouble.
Fantastic. So sound advice from the Patrolman of the Year. How do you get to be that then? Is it like Miss World or something?
It's something like Miss World, yeah.
So you hand your title on. Now, seriously, the weather's going to be really cold, particularly around the West Midlands. Where else are the AA saying you should be watching out?
Down towards East Anglia, that particular sort of stretch, right the way down from the Midlands, is going to be suffering a cold snap over the next couple of days.
And ideally, you should have given your car a run out before going back to work today.
Well, hopefully so, yes. If not, then you're going to be the first to find out, should it not start.
All right, well, look, thanks for all the tips. Thanks for all your colleagues upstairs. Always nice to meet people working like us at the beginning of the year. Back to you in the studio, Ben.
Thanks very much, Matt. They do a cracking job, actually. My cousins broke down on the way down to Cornwall at Christmas.
Oh, it's nothing more miserable. It's horrible. It's always in the coldest, wettest, most...
Fortunately, though, the breakdown services got there within about 15 minutes, so they were back on the road pretty quickly. But it's just so frustrating when the car you just think, what And because we don't know our way around cars like we sort of our parents used to.
No, I
know.
know.
It's all left to computers and things, isn't
I know. It's always when you're driving down the motorway, you see someone on the side of the road, you think, oh, gosh, poor sausages. Yeah. OK, now, coming up after 8, the brother and sister who both need a life-saving bone marrow transplant. Their mother appeals for donors who may be a match to come forward. Hearing their story a bit later on.
And fresh from showing off his encyclopedic knowledge on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, Biggins is on the sofa, basking in his glory, talking telly with us.
Pick of the Day is brought to you by new Lotus Orbis tissues. Crush the tissue. Release the vapours.
Talking telly now with the king of the small screen. There was a big question on the news hour this morning from John Stapleton, which was who exactly is this group out and about town on New Year's Eve?
He really wants to meet them, to be honest. He's very excited about it.
We've got to the bottom of it because one of them's here.
Yeah, that is me in that
You're
long wig.
looking good.
And thank you.
Who are you with?
Great there.
I was with a few of the Spice Girls, funny enough. That's how we go out together, you know.
Congratulations.
Very
Who Wants to Be a Millionaire triumph.
Well, didn't we do well, Hannah and I? I mean, it was fantastic. I mean, as I said the other day, how nerve-wracking it is. And it is nerve-wracking.
Your mind goes blank. Even things you know that I've done it, and I was terrible, but even things that you know the answer to.
I know.
You suddenly think, oh, God, under that pressure. It's terrible, isn't
and
it?
in a way, though, it's like when we had to go for it, for that £150,000 question, because we could so easily have won it, you know, because it was just 2 answers.
Well, let's have a look. We've got a little clip of your reaction.
Mr. Churchill, was your gut feeling you've been right all night?
Well, no, but I'm probably wrong now. But
we've got 50.
Yeah, we'll go for it, Chris. We'll go
Winston
for
Churchill.
Winston Churchill. Final answer.
Final answer.
Final answer.
He had £75,000. You've just lost 25,000. Oh, guys.
So
well,
near,
you know.
so far.
Great shame, but still, our charities did get 50,000, which is
fantastic.
fantastic. And both, fun enough, both our charities, we didn't realise, are linked together because they're both Edinburgh-based charities. Oh. So they were both linked together. So it was great. The 50,000 went to.
It's a lot of money. That'll make a big difference.
It really will.
Cool. Well, let's talk about tonight's telly then. Some good films on there.
Yes, Bruce Almighty is on BBC One tonight at I think it's 8:30, and of course it's got Jim Carrey and the marvellous Morgan Freeman, who I'm such a fan of, playing God. And
as he rightly should.
Yeah, he should. And there's a very funny sequence now coming up where we see Jim Carrey's, I think it's 7 or 6 fingers.
Oh.
Have a look at this.
Great film. That sequence with his fingers must have been so difficult to...
Can you imagine? But he's so brilliant, Jim Carrey, isn't he? I mean, he's a genius.
You wouldn't really track up to the lift with him, would you? He's very excitable. I think it exhausts you.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely
but
right.
Great on film.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful.
OK.
And the bill?
The bill, yes.
Well, now, I think the bill is becoming like where all the dead EastEnders go.
Yeah.
Because the whole of the cast seems to be full of EastEnders. Do you think there's a producer who's gone over?
He's dragging them.
Luring them in with huge salaries. Anyway, that's tonight ITV, and I think it's 8 o'clock, yes. And here's a very interesting clip to show you.
OK. No, I haven't seen that. Sorry. We're just talking about apparently alleged pictures of Trevor Brown the comedian in Speedos.
Yes.
Somewhere in the paper.
Steve Allen this morning on the radio was saying it's absolutely disgusting, and I was just longing to see it.
Well, we've seen you in your pants on the front page of the Daily Express.
I know,
very
I
good,
know.
very good indeed. Listen, what about Rover's return possibly getting a facelift in Corrie? I don't know, what does that mean?
I don't
It won't
know.
be the same, will it? Can't be a wine bar.
It's ridiculous. I get so upset nowadays when they actually do these sort of things. And I think they should do a poll to see if the actual audience who watch it want it. And I'm sure they'd say no. I mean, we love the comfort of knowing that Elsie Tanner was there and, you know, all those
And
great
it hasn't
characters.
really changed. You can have a lick of pain, can't it? But
Yes,
you don't want it
exactly.
to totally change.
No, I think that's really sad.
Yeah, what about Corrie tonight, then? Because it's still the same tonight.
It is, and I think it's a good episode. I mean, you know, I think Coronation Street is such a good show, you know, and of course we've got all the business over the wedding and the nightmare of the day after because of all that terrible fight and everything. And so there's a sequence here which no one quite knows what happened at the wedding.
Oh, somebody got out of bed the wrong side this morning. Too much shampoo had to do last night.
I don't know what's worse. The fact that I missed your wedding or the fact that you didn't even notice.
Hey, I can't remember a thing. It's just all a blur.
Oh, same here.
Right then, are we all done?
Yeah, come on, time's marching
How
on.
did that happen then? Not rare groove enough for you, or did you just see pound signs in front of your eyes?
I just got told it was off. Asked to leave. No explanation given. Seemed like someone got cold feet to me.
There you go. I tell you what, the more eagle-eyed ones will notice we've had a lick of paint in here. We've got some wallpaper up, haven't we?
Yes.
Is that new?
It's new. John Stapleton was here all weekend.
Yeah.
All year,
It's not
slapping
bubbled
out
yet.
with a wallpaper. You might be able to pick it out, actually.
What good taste he's got.
Oh, he's
Can we, by
marvellous.
talking of good taste, can we say a big get well to Ken Dodd, who went in for a
Yes.
hernia, and people are very worried about him, and I think he's so brilliant.
How old is he? No, he's not young, is he?
I don't think he is young, you see,
No.
that's the problem. I mean, he's
Okay.
deceiving. I think he
Yeah.
could be 80, I'm not sure.
Yes, I think he could be.
But anyway, good luck, Ken.
All right. Get well soon. Now, Claire's going to give us the health of the weather forecast. It's not looking great, is it?
It's not looking great. That's why we're giving you a beautiful picture this morning of daffodils. Isn't that lovely? Some daffs are actually out in bloom, but sadly, winter is upon us again. When I say winter, it's turning snowy and bitterly cold. Shall we take a look?
GMTV weather, sponsored by Nestlé Shredded Wheat. Shredded wheat and hot milk. They're a perfect winter warm-up.
So today, temperatures are taking a tumble and there'll be snow in places this time tomorrow. And the reason why, the wind's now coming in from a very cold direction, dragging in some cold air from the near continent. And that means tomorrow, as we head through the day, we're expecting snow showers anywhere from eastern Scotland down towards northeast England. And then later on, areas of cloud and rain move up from the south. And that, as it hits the cold air, will turn to snow. The best of the weather will be across Northern Ireland. Currently, though, it's a fairly cloudy start today, a fairly mild start, and we're seeing some outbreaks of rain. The rain across Scotland as well as northern England. The wind will pick up through the day, which means the cloud will break up across England and Wales and Northern Ireland. So this afternoon you should see some brighter skies. And I think we'll find the rain dying out as well. But look at these temperatures, currently between around 4 and 6 degrees Celsius. And then through the morning into the afternoon, the temperatures really do take a tumble as the cold air kicks in. So it's going to turn colder later, although most places will be dry. Wind chill factor as well. So wherever you are this afternoon, remember, wrap up warm. If you're heading out this morning, it may not feel too bad, but it will do by the end of today. So tonight, a widespread frost wherever you are, and then we're likely to see snow flurries come in across eastern parts of Scotland as well as northeast England. They'll really get going tomorrow, really, to be honest, and as they do, an area of cloud and rain moves up from the south, so tomorrow that will hit the cold air and we could see some snow across central southern England and eventually reaching the Midlands as well as East Anglia. So tomorrow then, best will be in the west where you'll see some sunshine. Those snow showers becoming frequent through the day and those temperatures really struggling, so it's going to feel incredibly cold and wintry. The snow showers 2 to 5 centimetres, I'd say, and temperatures struggling to get above 2 or 3 degrees Celsius through the afternoon. Midlands hanging on to some sunshine, particularly the West Midlands. More clouds spilling up from the south, and as the rain moves in, as you can see, it is going to turn to snow. So by, I'd say, mid-morning, we could see that snow arriving across central southern England. I would say Wales, the West Midlands, northwest England, Isle of Man and Northern Ireland, not seeing much at all. I think it's going to remain dry here and also bright with some good sunny spells, but it's going to be bitterly cold wherever you are, and that wind really making even worse. And then tomorrow through the afternoon, that's where we can see widespread regions of snow. I'd say 2 to 3 centimetres perhaps across East Anglia as well as the Midlands, and even more across particularly the higher ground, eastern parts of Scotland as well as northeast England. Sunshine across Northern Ireland as well as western Scotland. And then it all dies down on Friday, which is good news. The wind's still very strong indeed, and in fact for the weekend, it's wet and windy on Saturday, turning brighter with some showers on Sunday. Here's your summary. Find out what's in store for the next 5 days on our website, gm.tv.
Good morning. New Year misery, I'm afraid, on the trains as thousands of passengers face yet more delays and increased fares.
And unfortunately, it's no better on the roads as breakdown calls peak today and forecasters warn of snow tomorrow.
So, is it any surprise that more people are expected to throw a sickie today than any other day of the year? As many as 5 million people will stay in bed or sneak off to the sales. But don't throw a sickie on us, we've got lots to come. It's Wednesday, the 2nd of January, 2008. You're watching GMTV Today. It's coming up to 8 o'clock. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to all of you.
Yes, I know it sounds a bit miserable. We're going to try and make everyone smile this morning. Got more on all those stories coming up from Priya in just a moment.
Do you know the worst thing about telling everybody that this is the day when 5 million people are going to pull a sickie?
Is if you're genuinely ill.
Yeah. Everyone's going to think you're pulling a sickie.
Yeah,
Sorry
you're
about
right,
that.
actually.
Also, this morning, we're talking about the two children who desperately need a bone marrow transplant. We're going to be hearing their story, and they're a gorgeous couple. There they are at 8:10.
And it's that time of year when we all make vows, don't we, to get fitter, more healthy after all that festive indulgence. So what's the best way to shed those excess pounds? We've got health experts to scrutinise the detoxes, the diets and the exercise regimes in around half an hour.
And how about this for giving up for New Year? One of these, could you give up your mobile phone for 2 months? Pretty tough call, I'd say.
2 minutes?
2 minutes is hard enough for you, isn't it?
I know.
We're going to talk to one woman who's telling us why she's going celibate. Cell phone.
Cell phone celib. I tell you, that's clever. You can tell she's American.
She's a Yank. We're going to be talking to her in just a bit.
OK, here are the day's news now. Here's Priya.
Thanks, Kate. Good morning. Tens of thousands of rail commuters who use the West Coast Main Line will face lengthy delays this morning because engineering works around Rugby haven't been completed on time. The delays have been condemned by passenger groups, already angry at the above-inflation price rises on tickets that come into effect today. Well, Jackie Cabler is at Rugby Station. Morning, Jackie.
Good morning. Yes, the West Coast Main Line, one of the busiest in the country. And thanks to engineering works on the line around Rugby here, for the third successive day running over, basically a large chunk of that line is closed today. It was supposed to be reopened a couple of days ago. It still hasn't happened. It's a chunk of line between Coventry, Northampton and Milton Keynes, and it's causing enormous problems for people trying to get to work today. Here at Rugby, they have brought buses in to try and help people get to work, but there's a lot of very irate commuters here who simply aren't going anywhere just at the moment. And of course it comes on the day when rail companies around the country have announced they're also putting their prices up. Huge outrage from many passengers about this. Some pressure groups around the country planning to do fare strikes and so on to really protest against these rises. Some of them going up by over 10%. Great Western, First Great Western is one of the companies being targeted by the protesters who say that they're the worst train company in the country. Almost a fifth of their trains ran late last year and they're putting their prices up by 10%. Let's take a look at some of the other prices. These have come to us from pressure group Passenger Focus. An annual season ticket from Canterbury to London, that's going up over 11%. to £3,480. A similar ticket, annual season ticket between Oxford and Maidenhead, that's going up nearly 10% to £2,488. And if you're buying a season ticket from Warrington to Manchester, that's going up nearly 5% to £1,288. So they are big rises. Many passengers saying it's simply not acceptable because the service has been so appalling. So really not a great start to the new year. West Coast Main Line having problems at Liverpool Street Station in London is also closed this morning due to engineering works which haven't finished. And of course these price rises, people not very happy at all, Priya.
I can imagine. Thanks, Jackie. Efforts to find a peaceful resolution to the violence in Kenya have been stepped up after dozens of women and children were killed in a church fire. Around 270 people have died in riots triggered by Kenya's general election. ITV's news correspondent Neil Connery has sent this report.
This is without doubt one of the most testing times that this nation has faced in recent years. Up to 50 people feared to have lost their lives inside that church yesterday, many of them women and children. They'd gone there to seek shelter. They are members of the Kikuyu tribe, supporters of the President, Moi Kibaki here, whose controversial re-election has sparked all of this election violence, and they died the most appalling death inside that church. Now, in terms of the politics, the opposition leader here, Raila Odinga, has made it clear that he's not backing down. He feels he was robbed in this presidential election. He's called for a rally to be held at Uhuru Park, about 5 or 10 minutes from where I am in Nairobi, on Thursday, and he says up to 1 million people will join that rally. But the police have made it clear they're not going to tolerate any rallies in Nairobi in the coming days, given what has happened over the past 72 hours. So as things stand at the moment, we have a very, very tense standoff indeed between President Moi Kibaki on the one hand and the opposition leader Raila Odinga.
Neil Connery in Nairobi. Meanwhile, elections in Pakistan are to be delayed for at least a month following the assassination of Benazir Bhutto. That's despite threats from opposition groups who are demanding that the election go ahead as planned on January the 8th. It's thought a delay could work in the favour of the ruling party, led by President Pervez Musharraf. Police are appealing for help in tracing missing teenager Joshua Beasley. The 17-year-old was last seen on Christmas Eve. He's known to have been at an ice rink in Greenwich in south-east London on the afternoon of his disappearance. Jonathan Swain is there for us now. Morning, Jonathan.
Morning, Priya. The parents of Joshua were hoping for a family Christmas all together. In the end, they spent it alone, and they were anxious with worry. Well, Joshua was last seen leaving the ice rink here at Greenwich. Now, friends say that he slipped on ice, and they just presume that he left here to walk along the road to walk home, but he never got there. And since then, there have been big appeals for information. And this morning on the programme, we spoke to Joshua's parents, and his mum, Ruth, said there's no reason why he should go missing.
You know, he's a very happy kid, looking forward to Christmas, seeing his friends, then seeing family, going down to see my family and his granddad and cousins and stuff. Absolutely no reason at all, no.
Well, Joshua was also caught on CCTV just leaving a pub before he arrived here at the ice rink, and that's pretty much all the police have to go on, despite contacting all his friends and family, Priya.
Jonathan, thank you. 4 people are still being questioned following the death of a teenager in Leicester. 16-year-old Bradley Whitfield died, reportedly after being attacked with a broken bottle. 2 teenagers are among those arrested. And police in Edmonton in North London are hunting the killer of an 18-year-old man stabbed to death after a fight outside a supermarket. Anti-drug campaigners have criticised a police chief for saying that ecstasy is safer than aspirin. The head of the North Wales Police Force, Richard Brunstrom, insisted in an interview that there was too much scaremongering over the dangers of the illegal drug.
If you look at the government's own research into death, you'll find that ecstasy, by comparison to many other substances, legal and illegal, is a comparatively safe substance. It's far safer than aspirin.
Gordon Brown is reportedly planning to keep 24-hour drinking laws despite suggestions they could be axed. It's thought the Prime Minister will instead tackle the culture of drinking with a crackdown on those who sell alcohol to the underaged. Parents will also be encouraged to educate their children about the dangers of drink. Look what's on our website this morning: why workers are being encouraged to go green and cut carbon emissions in the workplace. And if your New Year's resolution is to get fit, we have tips and advice on how to get started on the website. All that and more on GM.TV. 7 minutes past 8, back to Kate and Ben.
Thank you very much for talking about those tips right now. You've been texting and emailing us all the morning about what you're going to do to try and fight the festive flab. Are you going to do the detoxes, the diets, the gyms? Or Jo in Grimsby?
Fight the festive flab. I like that. All the Fs.
Just drop that in there. Jo in Grimsby's going to be trying to exercise with workout DVDs, eating sensibly. She's dreading it. She's just had a baby girl, so it's going to be very difficult for Jo, she says.
I know, it is hard. Mind you, you'll be running around so much if you've just had a baby that you might be helped by that. Jennifer in Worthing, I've learned over the years that gyms and diets do not work. I lost nearly 2 stone in 2007 through healthy eating and simply walking, and will continue. There was a big survey, wasn't there, last week, about how actually pottering is as good as going to the gym regularly, which I was really annoyed about because my husband then said, you see, just flopping around, it's quite good. I think it means
I'm working out.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
just
talking about
pottering.
New Year, and it's being a bit depressing as well. Chris Tux texted us with a lovely email, actually. Sorry, emailed us. I'm never going to be depressed on January the 2nd. My daughter Charlie was born on this day. She's 5 today. Can you wish her a happy birthday? Love, Mum, Dad and Ben. There you go. Happy birthday, Charlie. Happy birthday to anybody whose birthday is at the start of the year.
Yeah, well, I hope people actually remember to give you a present, because people are a bit broke at this time of year, aren't they? And try and give you a combined Christmas one, which is a bit rubbish. Now, listen, talking about getting fit and losing that flab, let us know by texting us on 67890 what your tips are and how you think you're going to be doing it, or if you're even going to bother. Maybe not going to bother this year. The calls cost 25 pence, 25 pence. That's a bit odd. 25 pence plus your standard network charge. Terms and conditions can be found at www.gm.tv/terms, and text also may appear on our website. But please give us your name and where you're from as well.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about that in about 20 minutes' time. First, though, let's see what's happening where you are this morning.
Thanks, Ben. Good morning. The main stories here in the northwest. 2 men are now being held by officers investigating the attempted murder of a Lancashire policewoman. 29-year-old PC Katie Johnson was shot in the leg as she confronted a man during a robbery at the Hospital Inn pub in Bamber Bridge near Preston. She's since been discharged from hospital and is recovering at home. Police say 3 men shot in Manchester on New Year's Eve were targeted by a lone gunman. One of the injured, who was 26, was pronounced dead after the victims drove themselves to North Manchester General Hospital. A second man suffered serious back injuries, while a third escaped with minor injuries. Greater Manchester Police say they were in a car on Huxley Avenue in Crumpsall when the gunman fired at them before escaping on foot. Ken Dodd is vowing to be back on stage next month after undergoing surgery for a hernia at a hospital in Liverpool. The comedian celebrated his 80th birthday last November. He was taken to hospital on New Year's Eve shortly after a sellout gig at Liverpool's Philharmonic Hall. He's expected to be home in the next couple of days. There will be no direct trains between the North West and London for a third successive day after engineering works overran on the West Coast Main Line. Virgin Trains say the disruption caused by Network Rail to thousands of commuters is unacceptable. Rail users are being advised to travel via Sheffield or Birmingham or find alternative means of travelling to the capital. Some soldiers from the Duke of Lancaster's regiment who are serving in Iraq are celebrating this new year after learning they'll be coming home early. Hundreds of the North West soldiers spent the holidays on duty with little break, but most members of the regiment will now come home in April. That's a month ahead of schedule.
You spend an awful lot of time training for an event like this. In our case, a good 6 months hard work. So for a number who will only be 3 months, then they'll crack on, and then the rest of us will follow at about the 4.5, 5 month point. But that's good. It's in line with the mission. You know, we're not here for our own sakes. We're here to do a job, and we'll continue to do that to the best of our ability and get everybody out safely.
And you can see a special feature on the work of the Duke of Lancaster Regiment in Iraq on Granada Reports tonight at 6. That's it for now. I'm back at about 11:10. In a moment, we'll return to Kate and Ben, but first let's take a look at the region's weather.
Pantene Pro V Winter Rescue, forecasting a great hair day, whatever the weather. Sponsors of GMTV Weather.
This morning will be dull and damp with some rain at times, especially out towards the Pennines. Making way, though, for a mostly dry afternoon with a few sunny intervals across the south of the region. Temperatures will peak at 3 degrees Celsius. That's 27 degrees Fahrenheit.
Like looking for a needle in a haystack, that's what the mother of children Ella and Sam Wright says as she desperately tries to find a bone marrow donor who could save her children's lives. Rachel Harrison has their story.
To anyone looking on, Ella and Sam look like two healthy children, but both of them have been diagnosed with a severe immune deficiency.
It means that they are a lot more vulnerable to coughs and colds and, you know, everyday things that everybody else can fight off.
They need an urgent bone marrow transplant, but worldwide there are only 6 people who are partial matches, and that's not good enough.
3.5 years we've been on the list for, so, you know, it's, you know, quite worrying really that we haven't found a donor so far.
If a donor can't be found, this may have been their last Christmas.
Well, Ella and Sam are here, along with Mum Sally Wright and Grandmum Annette Eaton. Good to see all of you this morning. I was worried, Sally, about sort of talking about this in front of them because he feels bad, but I suppose you've had to face this all out, really, haven't you? Face life head on, so to speak. They're used to it all. So what is life like at the moment, then? How are you coping?
You know, they're quite well, but you know, winter brings obviously problems with coughs and colds and things. Ella spent a week in hospital 2 weeks ago. It's, you know, it's difficult because they're on a lot of medication and things now.
And so they're on medication, and what else treatment do you have to have?
They have drips 3 times a week, and also antibiotics, antivirals and antifungals twice a day, and just a lot of things, you know, a lot of medication.
Which makes life tricky.
It does, yeah.
And also the concern, of course, is for the future. What are your worries there?
Just want them to have one, really. You know, I want to see them as teenagers. It's very difficult to talk about, you know, high school and things like that because you know, we desperately want it to happen, but without a donor, you know, it's looking bleak. Yeah.
Very difficult for you as well, Grandma, as well, and it seems just desperately unfortunate that both youngsters have got this condition because it's not common, is it?
No, it's very rare indeed. And as a grandma's point of view, it's, you know, great concern for the children and for Sally and their daddy as well. You know, this is a plea from the bottom of my heart to.
So you've been waiting you came to speak to us, didn't you, 2 years ago, and you've been waiting for a long time for this. Have you had any success at all in finding a donor?
No, there's some partial matches on the list which they would take if push came to shove, but obviously the chances of survival through transplant aren't as good without a fully matched donor.
So you need the sort of the DNA and all the genetics.
We need a really good matched donor to get them through transplant.
Yeah. And what do you think about all this, Ella, then? Because I know you are a bit poorly sometimes, aren't you? Did it spoil your Christmas, or did you have a nice Christmas?
A nice Christmas.
What did you have from Father Christmas?
camera.
A camera. Oh, that's good. So you've been taking lots of pictures then this Christmas. Very, very good indeed. They're obviously very positive about life, which is fantastic. Does that help you and the whole family cope?
It does, it does. I mean, they're just gorgeous. They're absolutely gorgeous, and you know, you couldn't wish for two nicer children, really.
What does it involve? Sorry, but what does being a bone marrow donor involve? Because I sometimes think that people obviously see your youngsters and see you and want to help, but it is. People don't know what's involved, and it's nerve-wracking, isn't it? What do people have to do?
It's an initial blood test, and then you would be put on a database, and if you were matched with somebody, then you would go on to be a donor.
And what does that involve, being a donor? Is it painful?
There's two types of being a donor, but obviously if you log on to the Anthony Nolan website, then they tell you more there. But as I know, and from experience of knowing somebody who's donated, then it doesn't. It's compared to what these two go through every day. It's nothing. And also it's the most important gift you can give. It's a life-saving gift. So.
I was going to say, because we saw that Ellen and Sam taking their medicine earlier on. It's hard enough for us when we try and get out my two to have a little bit of Calpol if they're not feeling great. How do they cope with all those medicines and all that?
They're just used to having it. You know, it's a shame. You know, when they go for blood tests or anything, they just sit there. They don't even, they don't flinch at all. They're used to having it, unfortunately. But
goodness me.
we've just
They're very brave, and look, the real characters as well.
I'm rightfully disrespectful of this studio, Sam. Wriggling around. That's good sense, showing a lot of good sense. So what would you like people to do that are watching them? What would you like to do?
I just want them to take it, to think about that this is a new year, and it's the most important gift you could ever give anybody. Anybody can do it. You've just got to.
And if it doesn't work out for you, it will work out for the many other people that are waiting on that
there's 7,000
register
people
as well.
in the world waiting.
All right, well, thanks very much. Best of luck to you. I do hope that this year brings some success for you.
Thank you.
And there's lots more information about how you can become a bone marrow donor on the website, gm.tv. Good to see all of you. I think Ella's going to be taking some pictures of all of us later, aren't you? Some little snaps. Well done.
We've got lots more to come between now and 9:25. Talking being disrespectful to the studio, Biggins is going to be back. As well as that, could you live without your mobile phone for 2 months? I'm sure it'd be easier to live without breathing. We're going to be talking to one woman who's ditching her cell phone. She's an American, says she's just going to have to talk to people face to face. Perish the thought.
The horror. And up next, the blockbuster movie's heading our way from Hollywood. Some clues on that coming up after the break. Well, the main headlines you're waking up to this morning are, at 8:21, tens of thousands of rail commuters face price rises and lengthy delays this morning because engineering works at Rugby have not been completed on time. Diplomatic efforts have been stepped up to end the post-election violence in Kenya, where hundreds have been killed. And today's weather, rain over Scotland will die out this afternoon. The rest of the country will be dry with a few bright spells in the west. Temperatures will peak at 7 Celsius, but it will feel much colder in the wind.
So, with the new year well and truly upon us, what can we expect from the showbiz capital of the world? With all the latest and look ahead to the rest of the year, Ross King joined us live from Los Angeles. Good morning, Ross. Thanks for joining us. One thing that is quite worrying, though, this writers' strike, the Writers Guild of America, they're still striking.
They certainly are, Ben. Happy New Year to you. Not such a happy New Year for many people out here in Los Angeles at the moment. The writers' strike you mentioned is still going on. For those who don't know anything about it, basically the writers here are arguing over the amount of money that they get for internet usage of their material, when things are used on mobile phones and things like that too. However, the problem is we're getting right into the middle of award season here. Now, already one big award show, the People's Choice Awards, has been affected by it because they didn't manage to strike a deal with the writers, and that means the show is going to be completely pre-recorded. It's not going to be in a theatre, no red carpet, which means the stars can't go along there and plug their movies and say whose clothes they're wearing and things like that. The big awards coming up very shortly on January the 13th, the Golden Globe Awards. At the moment, no deal made there, so the big stars won't want to cross the red carpet. A lot of the red the red carpet stars at the moment, not actually really speaking out too much about the strike. But this strike really has affected everyone out here, even down to people like dog walkers. Believe it or not, a lot of dog walkers not getting any jobs at the moment because people not working, just walking their own dogs. Can you believe it? Someone walked their own dog out here in Hollywood. So it's not a good time at all for them. And really, they're talking about $1 billion it will have cost this town, hopefully by the end of it, which hopefully will be very soon, and it means the awards can all go on.
There is some light at the end of the tunnel, though, because the late-night chat shows, which I understand have been off because they rely very heavily on writers, particularly sort of, you know, the Letterman and so on, some of them are coming back.
Yeah, in fact, new episodes are going to be happening over the next couple of days here with most of the major stars. Jay Leno going back, also talk of David Letterman going back next week. The interesting thing here, though, is that obviously at the beginning of the show they normally do the monologue. A lot of these talk show hosts are also members of the Writers Guild, so they can't be seen to be writing. But the whole thing is, Ben, as you and I know, you know, you chat away and then sometimes you have an idea and then you put it in kind of as an ad-lib. So the whole thing will be, people will be saying, did you write that or did you just think about it? Was it an ad-lib? So it's a very, very strange situation.
Very peculiar. And obviously we don't have writers over here, as you might realise. We're done by producers. Is there going to be more producers doing that sort of thing in the States? Can they do that?
No, they can't.
No, that's the pure and simple thing, and it's such a fine line here with everyone trying to keep everyone happy. It's a very strange situation. The bottom line for the people at home as well is that a lot of their favourite shows, they will not see them. Some will not return. Some that haven't done that well, the production companies out here will just let them slide. So if you want to see some of your favourite shows, I'm afraid it might be bad news for you in the new year.
Because it has an impact, doesn't it? 24s, the prison breaks, all of these things, Lost, all of that. Let's talk about things that we know are definitely going to be happening, though. Film releases. Is there going to be any delay to any of those?
Definitely maybe. No, that's not my answer. That's a new movie, stars Ryan Reynolds. Take a look.
Looks like a very heartwarming tale. The one I'm excited about, though, Batman's coming back.
Oh, so excited about this one, Ben, as well. I was lucky I went along to the IMAX theatre right here because about the first 20 minutes of the movie is made for the big IMAX scenes, you know, when it goes right round you. I saw it. Looks absolutely amazing. Christian Bale is back. The Joker is back. Sadly not Jack Nicholson, but in his place is Heath Ledger. News as the director of the sequel. It's got Christian Bale again, superb as Batman. Heath Ledger as the Joker, as I mentioned. And the film follows Batman becoming more of a detective, dealing with the escalated situation from the end of Batman Begins, as well as the dilemma of his vigilante crusade and his friendship with a district attorney who's played by Aaron Eckhart, good actor too. So this one looks an absolute blockbuster.
Now, did you write that yourself, Ross, or did you ad-lib it?
No.
Are we going to be in trouble with the Actors Guild, or...?
I'm not sure about my reply to that.
Now, look, one last film we've just got time for. Samuel L. Jackson with a cracking-looking science fiction film.
Yeah, based on the novel. This is called Jumper. You've got to see this one. In fact, have a look right now. I Love You coming out too, with our old friend, an old friend of yours, an old friend of mine, and an old friend of another GMTV presenter, Jerry Butler. It's a great chick flick. Look out for that.
I like what you've done. Also, another one, Sweeney Todd. That's the one everyone's talking about as well. Sweeney Todd's going to be huge. Ross, thank you very much. Good to speak to you.
All right, lots to look
Cheers.
forward.
Happy New Year, guys.
Happy New Year.
Lots to look forward there, coming over from Hollywood. But I guess this is the time of year when it's a bit depressing, when we've all overspent and overeaten. So if you've picked out over Christmas and New Year, what's the best way to get in shape in 2008? Talking detox diets and those dreaded exercise regimes after the break.
First, though, if, like us, you're miserable at work... I didn't mean that.
You didn't mean that. But with all the lovely people you work
all
with...
All the love we get right here,
the
with the new wallpaper and the flowers.
Lovely wallpaper, very
do
nice.
you need a complete change? Wouldn't that be great? GMTV might be able to help.
GMTV Weather, sponsored by Nestlé Shredded Wheat. Shredded wheat and hot milk. They're a perfect winter warm-up.
Hello there. A cloudy start to the day. We're seeing some outbreaks of rain across Scotland. It's stretching down towards northern England, down towards the Midlands. Look at these temperatures, though, 4 to 6 degrees Celsius, but the wind is picking up all the while. The wind is now changing direction, dragging in some very cold air from the near continent. It does mean it's mixing up with some dry air, so the cloud will break up through the afternoon, but look at these temperatures. Through the afternoon, temperatures really will take a tumble. It's going to feel freezing cold out there. So if you're heading out now, remember to wrap up warm for later, even though it may feel a little bit mild at the moment. So the winds are picking up and the cloud is moving in, and what that means tomorrow, it's going to turn very wintry. We're expecting wintry showers anywhere from eastern Scotland down towards northeast England. Rain coming up from the south, hitting the cold air. You can see some snow here. Best of the weather across Northern Ireland and western Scotland. You too.
It's quite like yesterday, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Well, yesterday, today, but not tomorrow.
Not tomorrow. It's going to change tomorrow.
Don't jump ahead.
Hi there. Happy New Year. It's just after 8:30. We're on day 2 of 2008.
Day 2. 363. Because it's leap year this year. 364 days to go.
Well, no, because there's less days in a leap year, isn't there?
No, there's a day extra.
Oh, who cares?
What planet are you on?
I don't
Do you
know.
get paid more if you work an extra day?
That's a good point.
Do you?
Check
Or are
that
they
one
getting
out.
a day's free, those dastardly bosses?
I would imagine that it's the latter.
Are we moaning at all? Happy New Year, everyone.
We're
with
here
you.
till 9:25. We have lots more of the similar to come. Can you tell that bit was ad-libbed?
Yeah. There's a Writers' Guild strike in America, and apparently nobody makes any sense over there at the moment. We, however, no strike.
Yeah, no strike, and it still
Still
doesn't
talking
work.
rubbish.
The question we're asking this morning, though, could you cut out living with your mobile phone? We're going to be talking to one woman who's ditching her mobile phone. For 2 months, she said she's going to have to talk to people face to face.
Frightening thought. And also in the morning, did you have a difficult Christmas with your better half or your other half or your ditched half, whichever way you went? Was it all a bit strange? January is the worst month for divorces, so what can you do to head things off?
All that and Christopher Biggins is here to cheer us up, to talk us through tonight's television a little bit later on.
Now, first of all, it is January, so of course we're all thinking about health and fitness. First day back at work, got to put behind the turkey, the chocolate and all the overindulgence of the past week. So how do we all get in shape? We're joined by Dr Hilary Jones and nutritionist Karen Devine. Just a moment, but first here's Lucy Vandenbroek with more on fighting that festive flab.
Aiming for a new you for the new year? Well, many of us will opt for a detox. But the Food Watchdog's chief scientist, Dr Andrew Wadge, claims that detoxing is nonsense and says you're better off drinking a couple of glasses of tap water, eating some home-cooked food and taking a nice long walk. So if that puts you off detoxing, what about diets? We may have eaten up to 7,000 calories on Christmas Day alone, so a calorie-cutting regime might be the way forward. But with so many fad diets available, finding the one for you might be tricky and sticking to it even harder. Or if you're feeling energetic, will it be a trip to the gym? We spend $3 billion a year on gym fees, and a staggering 3.6 million of us take out a gym subscription in the first 2 weeks of January alone. But joining a gym and going to a gym are two different things. 500,000 of us who sign up will never go.
Antoine, yes, it is. We're still arguing about leap years, would you believe? How does that help us in dieting? We've got an extra day, I suppose, to get fit, haven't we?
Just go running.
Good work. Anyway, nutritionist Karen Devine, our very own Dr Hilary, is here too. Good to speak to all of you. It's a time of good intentions, isn't it, this time of year? We all sort of think, OK, overindulged a bit, new start, clean myself up, lovely new shape for 2008.
Resolutions would have been made, wouldn't they?
Resolutions would have been made. What's the best way to make them work, though, rather than just stay on the piece of paper you wrote them down on for another year?
Be realistic. I mean, a lot of people are totally unrealistic. They'll lose it all in the first month, you know, in January. I won't drink for a month. I will, you know, I'll join a gym. 1 in 10 people join a gym in January and never use the subscription. They never go.
So it just
and it's
costs
not
yourself
enough.
money for nothing, really.
Absolutely. And they spend a lot of money on detox diets, which, in my opinion, are largely a waste of money because the body will detoxify itself if you give it a chance.
So the theory behind detox, then, is this idea that we've sort of been eating so many bits of junk food and things that our body can't tolerate, and it all gets built up, and that we need these special diets to cleanse our system. Now, I think the government said it's a bit of a nonsense, hasn't it, today? You think it's a nonsense, but...
Well, it's not a nonsense. We do imbibe a lot of toxins in the form of alcohol, and we eat a lot of rubbish for a long period of time over this festive season. And if we give our organs a chance, our liver, our kidneys, our skin, our lungs, a chance to get rid of these things, then our body will do it on its own. You don't need to spend a huge amount of money on fancy diets, fancy exercise regimes, because ordinary exercise, fresh air, you know, a pair of running shoes, skipping rope is all you need to invest in, and you can do it yourself.
That sounds very good, Julia, and it does sound a little like a man talk, I must admit, Karen, don't you think? Because I do think sometimes people need a gimmick. It might just be a gimmick. They need something to sort of hang their hopes on, if you like.
Yeah,
something
absolutely.
to get them kick-started.
Yeah, I think as well, because we have to look now, we're really fighting against toxic load that's coming in. You know, since end of World War II, there's been, you know, they say around 22,000 new chemicals, man-made chemicals, introduced into our environment every year. So we're having this in food, in water,
breathing it.
Exactly. So what we're also finding is people typically eating a British diet, which is high in fat and trans fats, very, very low in nutrients. We're actually finding that the toxicity is rising, and our nutritional status is getting lower. Therefore, we can't detox effectively. And as Dr. Hilary says, you know, we do detox. That, you know, the fact that we're living and breathing and have been around for millions of years is proving that. But we're actually dealing with stress, you know, toxicity stress, you know, symptoms.
Right, which the theory goes our body isn't able to take. So,
exactly.
So these sort of diets you can buy that help you detox, you have sort of powders and supplements. Is there any sense in them, do you think?
Well, it really depends. I mean, there are some very good supplements out there, but what you do find that people tend to buy something, say, a very cheap product, and then start a detox one day, and yet yesterday they were drinking alcohol, coffee,
if you can't sort of
down in the chocolates, you know, and suddenly
a month of abuse by a little
exactly.
pill, I suppose.
What they find is when they start these things, they go, oh, it must be working because I've got a headache. Well, actually, they're probably just withdrawing from caffeine or the alcohol or something else. So detoxing, you do really need, you know, not just to detox, you need the nutrients to mobilise the toxins, and really importantly, eliminating them to the outside.
OK, so if you don't want to spend money on a complicated detox diet, what would be something good that you could add to your diet and something that you should take away over the coming weeks?
Right, well, absolutely taking away. I mean, I've seen people tell me they're on a detox and they're having a cigarette. OK, doesn't work. A, because obviously you got the chemicals from the cigarettes, but you're also squeezing the arteries, the blood vessels rather, so nutrients can't even pass through. So it's eliminating foods that you would normally eat, like the high sugars, the refined carbohydrates.
Things that, let's be honest, we all know aren't good for us anyway.
But we all like.
And is there a superfood that we could add? I can see you've got a bit. Is that broccoli there?
Yeah, superfoods, things like broccoli. I mean, the berries are absolutely essential for antioxidants. You know, blueberries, blackberries, they're very, very high in antioxidants. You know, things like the porridge that's sitting there, the oats, you know, that's a good soluble fibre, so that'll absorb the toxins in the gut and take them out, because that's...
What's that there, like the white stuff?
That's an artichoke.
What's so good about an artichoke?
Well, it's very good for glutathione levels, and glutathione is the largest antioxidant we have in the body, and that's the liver needs glutathione. So, you know...
So that would be a good hangover cure then, a large artichoke.
And you've got milk thistle sitting there, which is it's a very good herb, but it helps to recycle glutathione. It's an antioxidant. So that's why people, when they take alcohol, they will take some milk thistle. So it's good for the Christmas indulgences, right, you know, after...
OK,
I think a lot of people need a quick reminder of what it's like to feel energetic again, and sometimes just a 24-hour fast combined with a bit of exercise, you wake up the next day feeling really fresh, really energetic, sort of empty within, but that's quite a good feeling. And if you've had some exercise too, that feeling that you can feel your muscles for the first time in ages.
Yes, nothing ripped or torn, but
it's just a good reminder of what it's like to feel, you know, young and fresh again. So that may be a good kick-start for many people.
And just
good advice.
You know, with your digestion, it's very much, you know, when you're eating heavy foods, you know, all your energy's going into digestion and not detoxing.
OK, I know you're coming back to talk about it, so if you have any questions for our experts, let us know what you think. Text us on 67890. Text costs 25 pence plus your standard network charge. Terms and conditions can be found at www.gm.tv/terms, and text may also appear on our website. Lots of tips and advice on our website too on how to get healthy and fit in 2008. Thanks.
17 minutes to 9. How long could you live without your mobile phone? Maybe a day. I know how annoying it is when my battery runs down. Well, one woman who's planning to do it is doing it for 8 whole weeks, and she's an American comedian named Amy Borkowski, and she joins us now from New York. Good morning, Amy.
Good morning.
So tell me, what on earth has inspired this madness?
Well, first of all, I know you guys call them mobile phones, but we call them cell phones in the States. So I'm calling this whole experiment celibacy. And basically the way it came about is, like most people, I'm addicted to my cell phone, okay? And it's not like I overdosed on cell phone minutes and, you know, my family and friends didn't get together and stage an intervention. It was basically just a feeling of, like, what am I missing out in life experiences from all the time I spent on the phone? I mean, in the summer, I swear, if you look real closely at my face, in the summertime, you can see a tan line in the shape of a phone, all right? That's how often I'm on it. So the idea basically is just to try to disconnect my cell phone service and reconnect with life. That's the premise.
OK, personally, I think it would be easier to give up something less essential like breathing, but what's the longest you've been without it in the past?
The longest I've been without it in the past, maybe hours. I mean, we're not talking days, hours, and that was probably only because I lost it, which I have a theory that subconsciously I kept losing my cell phone, like, over the past month before I started this, and I think it's this part of me that really just wants to be rid of the phone. But, you know, I have mixed emotions because it's kind of like how I keep in touch with people. And, you know, it started out as something, it's like, okay, this is convenient just for emergencies. And then, well, I mean, I guess it's still for emergencies, but you just redefine them. Like, the guy called, emergency, got to call my friend Lily. Or there's a dress on sale that my sister wanted, critical emergency, got to call her. So kind of broaden the definition of the emergencies that I use it for. So don't know what it's going to be like giving it up. So far, the first day was fine. I'm thinking, this is easy, no big deal. But then I walked out of my house, and that's when I started to feel it. Because, you know, they say if you get a limb amputated, you get these, like, phantom sensations, and that's what it's like with the phone. You know, it's like I would feel like a need to reach into the zipper compartment where I normally keep it in my bag and say, no, wait a second, the phone's not there. It's not going to be there for another 8 weeks, so trying to make the best of it.
Now, I know that you can still use payphones, aren't you? You're going to give yourself a certain amount of money a day just in case you need to use a payphone. And you've got your home phone and you can email from home. But other than that, you are strictly going to be without your cell or your mobile phone. What about your friends? Aren't they a bit worried that they can't get hold of you?
Well, yeah. I mean, a friend of mine said, you know what, I think this is going to be harder on us than it is for you, because I have a lot of friends. You know, I'm kind of like the advice giver amongst my friends, and they know they can call me any hour of the day, and I'm going to be there, and that's not happening now. And then there were some people, I started this January 1st for the new year. There were some friends I didn't get a chance to tell, and I got a couple of messages like, Amy, what's the matter? You know, they call me on my landline, and they're like, your phone was disconnected. Because, you know, in this day and age, the natural assumption is if you don't have cell phone service, you know, obviously you're dead. So,
well, fortunately,
the ones who didn't know were especially worried.
Fortunately,
but,
Amy,
and then
it's not quite as serious as that. But hopefully, you'll get through the next 8 weeks and your friends will realise where you are. We'd love to find out how you've got on at the end of the 8 weeks. Will you let us know?
I will, and amyscellphone.com is where I'll be blogging if people want to follow my progress or lack thereof. So
okay. Maybe you can celebrate with a phone call to us after those 8 weeks and tell us how it went.
How do we get hold of her, though? That's the problem.
Carrier
pigeon. Smoke signals?
Carrier pigeon.
Smoke signals?
Smoke signals. All the old school forms of communication. Amy, thank you very much and good luck.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Now in half an hour, Biggins is back with his top tips on tonight's TV.
And up next, was Christmas more of a chore in your house than a celebration? We're talking about the strain the festive season puts on relationships and how some end up in divorce courts. Don't go away. Hi there, it's 9 minutes to 9 now. For some families, Christmas is a breeze, but for others, spending all that quality time together can lead to all-out war. Was Christmas anything like this in your home this year?
The festive season should be a time of cheer and forgiveness, but for many people, Christmas is less like a nativity and more like a war zone. Women often blame their partners for too much time playing with gadgets or video games, and if money's tight in your household, the extra spending on Christmas goodies will only lead to extra pressure on your relationship. Spats over presents and annoying family members can turn into a large-scale argument. And for many couples, divorce could well be on the cards after the strains of the festive holidays. So much for the season of goodwill.
Julian Drucker there. Vanessa Lloyd-Platt joins us now. Vanessa, it becomes a very busy time for you guys now, isn't it, divorce lawyers?
Very much so. This is a time of year where we compete with the first day of the sales. Very, very busy. People have had a lot of friction over the Christmas period and unfulfilled expectations over Christmas and New Year at each other's throats, and in they come.
From your point of view, then that must be quite good, though, because it means you're busy and you're making a bit of money.
Great for divorce lawyers, terrible for people. So people really do need to stop and think, what are they doing? You know, having a weight loss regime doesn't mean getting rid of your partner.
In terms of your experience, what generally are the problems that people come in with at the start of January and they say, I've had enough?
Well, the main thing that really triggers it is rows over family. You know, certainly, you know, we spent more time with your family than my family, or the main one is you just didn't help around the house enough. The women are complaining. They wanted the men to help with the children. The men think this is their rest time. So big conflict there as the man sits there in the chair, feet up in the air, inputting into his mobile phone, phone and playing around with his new gadgets while she runs around all over the place and gets very cross. So what we need a lot of this time of year is men showing a bit of appreciation for what the women have done over the Christmas period time, and a lot more hugs for women. Women are very easy to please this time of year, believe it or not, Ben. All you have to do is a big hug and saying, thank you for what you've done. So it should be National Hug Day today.
That could help a lot of these things. Rosamund Woking disagrees with you. She said, I don't agree with that divorce lawyer saying men don't help. My husband is brilliant. He takes over so much of the work and Christmas is a delight because of him. And we had another email from him saying, I don't want him to go back to work. He's been brilliant, my husband. So men are getting more involved. The problem is it the women that sort of, at the end of the day, sort of go, right, that's it. I'm drawing the line now. I've had enough.
I think it's a bit of both. I think some women get very, very cross. There's been a gradual build-up to this, and Christmas period and the frustration of Christmas period is just the straw that breaks the camel's back. But, you know, certainly women do get very frustrated at this time of year because they see this sort of year stretching ahead. And the men also get very worried at this time of year as well. We hear from them that there's a lot of overspending, they believe, by their wives, particularly in the sales. So please be careful about maxing out his credit card, because if he's nervous about finances, particularly for this year, 2008, going to be quite a difficult financial year for people. Be careful, because it can lead to friction. No.
So hugs for the women and leave the credit cards alone for the men.
Absolutely.
Vanessa, thank you very much. We have had an anonymous text, actually, from someone saying he was just about to get out of bed for work when you mentioned putting a sickie. He got quite excited, but the wife then turned around and said, if she has to spend another day with me, it will be divorce. So he's on his way to work.
Why is he remaining anonymous, I would say, at that point.
Vanessa, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
You can get in touch with us via the website. There's lots of help and advice if you're worried about your relationship, and it is a serious thing. GM.TV, there's some really good things on there for you.
Now, every year, 230,000 people go missing in the UK, and many of them are teenagers. 17-year-old Joshua Beasley disappeared on Christmas Eve and hasn't been seen since. His parents are, as you might imagine, desperate for him to get in touch. And they're here to talk to us in just a moment. First, here's Anna Thomas.
For Joshua Beasley's family, Christmas and New Year have passed without celebration, with no clue as to the whereabouts of their teenage son, who they haven't seen since Christmas Eve. He spent that afternoon in a pub in southeast London. CCTV images show him leaving. He then went to this ice rink in Greenwich, left at around 5 o'clock, and nobody has heard from him since. Joshua's disappearance is said to be totally out of character. Studying for his A-levels, his parents describe him as a model student and a member of the National Youth Theatre. They're desperate to know he's safe and say their lives are on hold until he comes home.
Well, very, very, very difficult indeed, and very bravely, Joshua's mum and dad are here to talk to us. That's Ruth Harrison and Paul Beasley. I mean, I know you're trying to sort of smile through all of this and keep going, but it's an extraordinarily difficult time. Thank you so much for coming in. I know you want to try and raise awareness of this to get the result that you want, which is to reunite with your son. When did you last see him?
Well, I mean, I said goodbye to him about 1 o'clock on Christmas Eve. He was going off to buy some presents, meet up with his mates and go ice skating. So, you know, the expectation he'd be back in the evening so we could have Christmas Day together and then go down to my family on Boxing Day. And we haven't heard from him since. We couldn't get through to him. He'd usually, you know, he'd phone and always let us know where he was going and what he was doing.
So this is unusual. He's not someone that sort of takes off.
No, never. He's never done anything.
He was a sociable young man. Had a lot of friends. Yeah, indeed, his girlfriend's here with us today, and yeah, he's a popular young
but
chap.
he would never, you know, he would never not be in touch, you know. You'd always know where he was going and what he was doing.
His telephone went dead at about 5:30, and the last sighting of him was at 5:05. We need to find out really what happened between 5:05 and 5:30.
Right. So what do you want people in that? Let's just remind ourselves of what you need to know then. What was the area we're talking about? It's a very small area, actually, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's very near to central Greenwich. The ice rink is set up right around the university there, opposite the museum, and literally 3 minutes from the centre of Greenwich. You know, so lots and lots of people there on Christmas Eve, you know, everybody out having a good time before Christmas. So, so yes, it's really that central part of Greenwich. But, I mean, obviously it's a week now and he could be anywhere. You know, we really don't know what's happened to him.
We need a witness. Somebody must have seen something. He may have been unsteady on his feet. He was dressed fairly simply, black clothes. He was 5'9", shortish hair. He was fairly smart. He actually had an old pair of my jeans on, and indeed my Doc Martens as well.
I mean, it must be so difficult for you. Since you last heard from him, it must be some very, very difficult days.
I mean, we're desperately worried for him, and it's been devastating. You know, we're all really worried. His friends, everybody. I mean, his friends have been, and his girlfriend have been fantastic. They've been out. Everybody's been out looking for him, along with the police. You know.
And there's nothing that you can think of that might have been troubling him?
No, nothing. He was a very happy boy, enjoying his life. You know, getting on with his life and looking forward to it.
So what would you like people to do? Obviously, get in touch, I guess.
Yes. I think if they've seen him or they might have seen him with someone, anything, just the slightest thing, you know, just get in touch with the police immediately. And if Josh is actually seeing this, you know, just get in touch with someone so we know that you're safe, really. Yeah.
We've got that missing persons helpline on the screen there, 0500 700 700. Get in touch with that number if you have any information. Thanks so much for coming to speak to us and being so brave about all of this. Good to speak to you.
Thanks.
It's just coming up to 9 o'clock, Claire's here with the weather now.
Hello there. So it's a cloudy day today, turning very windy, in fact turning bitterly cold later. The cold air is coming in from the near continent. It's going to overturn the moist air, so the cloud could break up across southern parts of England and Wales, and the rain could ease across Scotland as well as northern England. Northern Ireland not doing too badly. Excuse me. We could see some sunshine here. But really, through the day, it's the temperatures which you're most concerned about. So if you're heading out now and you're going to be out all day, remember to wrap up warm, because it may feel okay now, but it's not going to later. Take a look at these temperatures as they slowly tumble. It's going to be a freezing cold end to the day. At least it'll be mostly dry. And as we head into tomorrow, it's going to change even more. We'll see some wintry flurries coming in early hours of the morning across eastern parts of Scotland as well as northeast England. Rain moves up from the south. That means some snow likely later on in the day. Best of the weather will be in the west. Kate.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now then, still to come this morning, we've got all the things you need to watch this evening on telly. Christopher Biggins is going to be joining us.
Hopefully something to make us smile. It's a bit miserable today, isn't it?
It has been a little bit depressing.
Terrible on the roads, problems on the trains. Anyway, in 10 minutes, we're going to talk about getting in shape for 2008. So, like, deprivation of food as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant.
Just to add to the list of fun.
Now, we're thinking positive. It's about being healthy in 2008. First of all that, though, we have an update on the news for you. Here's Priya.
Thank you, Kate. Tens of thousands of rail commuters who use the West Coast Main Line will face lengthy delays this morning because engineering works around Rugby haven't been completed on time. The delays have been condemned by passenger groups already angry at the above-inflation price rises on tickets that come into effect today. In addition to all that, London's Liverpool Street station also remains closed this morning. Efforts to find a peaceful resolution to violence in Kenya have been stepped up after dozens of women and children were killed in a church fire. Around 270 people have died in riots triggered by Kenya's general election after allegations that it was rigged. Foreign Secretary David Miliband and American Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice have called for an end to the violence. 4 people are still being questioned following the death of a teenager in Leicester. 16-year-old Bradley Whitfield died, reportedly after being attacked with a broken bottle. 2 teenagers are among those arrested, and police in Edmonton in North London are hunting the killer of an 18-year-old man stabbed to death after a fight outside a supermarket. Gordon Brown is reportedly planning to keep 24-hour drinking laws, despite suggestions that they could be axed. It's thought the Prime Minister will instead tackle the culture of drinking, with a crackdown on those who sell alcohol to the underaged. Parents will also be encouraged to educate their children about the dangers of drink. Now, today is expected to be the busiest day of the year for vehicle breakdowns. That's due to a snap of cold weather forecast for this morning and cars being left idle over Christmas holidays. Experts warn that flat batteries and flat tyres will be the most common problems.
I think the best thing for me to do.
NHS patients are to be encouraged to treat their own conditions under cost-saving plans outlined in today's Daily Telegraph. It claims that millions of people will be advised to carry out so-called self-care. Patients with asthma, arthritis and heart failure will reportedly be urged to administer their own drugs and monitor developments. Finally, it's been reported this morning that the most famous pub in British TV is to close for a refit. Corrie's Rovers Return is expected to shut its doors in April for drastic alterations, and the nation's favourite watering hole may never be the same again. It's claimed it might be reopened as a gastropub or trendy wine bar. No doubt Ben and Kate will be straight there.
Straight there.
I don't know. I think I'm more of a pint and pie girl, really.
Are you cheap? Basically.
Cheap.
That was the point, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's my basic selling point. Might be rubbish, but
Cheap.
I am cheap. OK, so what does the new year hold for us all? Any resolutions from you, sir?
I think I should be a bit nicer to you.
Yeah, nicer to me, please. Would be
Generally,
very good.
I'm actually going to cut down on all sorts of exciting things,
Like what?
Like alcohol and maybe some sweet foods. I've got a bit of a sweet tooth. I just got so many sweets over Christmas. My sister every year.
This is what Christmas is about.
No, but my sister every year gets me from this website a box of brilliant sweets. It's a quarter of, you know, you used to buy quarters of fruit bombs and all that stuff. Literally, I get a box of this stuff.
Pink shrimps.
Exactly.
Love those.
Flying saucers. I have a box of those, and I think I'm going to have to keep them for a good few months before I get tucked in.
You must be the most popular dad in the world.
Yeah, literally. Every time the boys calm down a bit, just...
Well, apart from, so we're throwing away sweets, we're getting fit, we're back at work, we hate our partners now because we've been stuck with them all Christmas. Is there anything to look forward to in 2008? We asked Richard Mackney for reasons to be cheerful.
We're just trying to find from people things to look forward to over the next year, reasons to be cheerful.
You won't answer, still living.
Oh, OK. That's a positive thing.
Yes, 2008, the year that'll be warm enough to live outside. Perfect timing for those of us whose homes get repossessed in the forthcoming financial crisis.
Any sort of things over the next year that's going to be good.
Well, I would have said the football, but that's not going to happen now, is it?
No, we don't mention that.
Yes, look forward to Euro 2008 the British way. And get to know the man who'll make millions of pounds and only win the title of most hated man in England. On this, the Chinese Year of the Rat, it's the 10th anniversary of Bill and that woman. Why not celebrate with your secretary or personal assistant? And look forward to another year of fun with Britney Spears and rumours that Michael Jackson's getting back together.
You're saying, life is good. Let's have some things.
I'm here. I'm spending time with my daughter.
She looks delighted.
You got anything good?
No. You want specific?
I want to know where the hell New Bond Street is. Okay.
What do you have to look forward to? I don't know. Or finishing this item. I think probably.
And this year it's happy 50th birthday to you, happy 70th to you, and Mr. Entertainment himself. Yes, happy 80th birthday, Bruce Forsyth. And, of course, there's always good old GMTV, here for you every morning with our own playful brand of fun
Can you
and...
just get out of here? Just, Andrew, can you just deal with this?
I'm just doing nothing but trouble.
No.
I'm just doing a thing. I'm doing a thing.
You don't even work here. As we were saying.
Lots of reasons to be cheerful.
Exactly.
I was
lots
still listing the
of
sweets that my
reasons.
sister bought me, and everyone's getting very excited.
I know.
about
Happy memories.
Sherbet dip
Rhubarb and
dabs,
custard.
rhubarb and
Do
custards.
you remember that?
Giant drumsticks. The lot. It's all in the box, waiting for me to eat them.
You can't do that now,
No,
though. You've
no.
got to be fit. Christopher Biggins is back. That's something to look forward to. He's here before the end of the show to tell us what's going to be on TV to get us glued tonight.
Yeah, and up next, what's your medicine for cutting back on all the excess over Christmas? Are you
Throwing
gonna
it away is
Yeah,
Ben's idea.
That's what you've got to do. Detox diet, Jim, you've been texting us and our esteemed panel with your questions. Anything you need to know, any help you might need, then give us email us, gm.tv. We'll see you in a bit. It's 9:10 all morning. We've had our experts, nutritionist Karen Devine and our very own Dr. Hillary giving us advice on how to beat the post-Christmas bulge. You've been emailing us, got some questions there, Kate?
Post-Christmas bulge. You've got a new one each time.
I know.
Festive flab of fun or something.
Christmas bulge. Festive flab of fun.
I don't know.
What do you do with your flab?
That's just the way I like to be.
Come on.
It's positive thinking. Let's have fun with your flab.
Truffle shuffle.
Stop it. Leave me alone.
Oh, the Goonies. It wasn't on a
Don't all laugh. You're just encouraging, for heaven's sake. Right, OK, Shannon Bridgewater, how do I detox successfully, particularly detoxing my mind, because I think stress is part of the problem in terms of weight gain over Christmas? Anybody? Anyone look at me blankly then. What do you
Actually,
think?
stress, yeah, when we have a lot of stress in our body, we release a lot of chemicals which actually interfere with our blood sugar control. So we tend to not manage blood sugar very well and start to pick weight up, especially around the middle when you're very stressed. So for somebody like Sharon, yeah, obviously she's got to try and get back to healthy eating regularly to keep the blood sugar stable, choosing, you know, high nutrient foods such as fruits, vegetables, fish, you know, anything to
and
keep
that will help the mind as well.
Exactly.
Do it all. I think it's important to write down the things that worry you most, so that you can identify them, prioritise the ones that need dealing with first. So deal with the major problems in your life, and don't worry about the little things. Deal with the big issues first, and delegate some of the things that need doing to other people, so that you de-stress on a priority basis.
OK, good advice there. Another one. I have problems doing exercise due to arthritis in my shoulders, says Pat in Leeds. I have problems in my elbows, fingers and lower back, knees and toes. It's going to make it tough, I think. Any ideas would be most welcome. What can you do if you have a limited mobility?
Well, I think if you can't exercise it in the normal way, then what about swimming? I mean, swimming in warm water is really helpful. So aqua aerobics.
So you get the sort of the weight off your...
Yeah, it's what they use in physiotherapy departments in hospitals all across the country. So somebody with arthritis, it's excellent. The weight is supported by the water, so joints are protected. So that's one way of using up calories. And then eating sensibly, eating foods that are less likely to cause inflammation in the joints, and Karen will be the expert on that.
What sort of things are they?
Yeah, absolutely. Foods like fish, for the fat, for the oils. Pineapple's very good. Cherries.
Why pineapple?
Pineapple's got an enzyme called bromelain, and it helps to reduce inflammation. Cherries are very good. Eating cherries, fresh cherries, are helpful, especially arthritic joints.
Gosh,
and apple cider vinegar. It's very good for reducing acid in the joints. So she could have that on her dressing.
Glucosamine is now available on the NHS. Glucosamine, which many people use to replenish cartilage.
Oh, so, can you go to your doctor and get a prescription?
Yes, you can.
That's interesting. OK, very good indeed. Wendy in Devon, this is a very common one, is it? Particularly when the New Year starts. You start to look at big dates you've got for that year. She's getting married on the 20th of June. She's bought a wedding dress 4 sizes smaller than she actually is.
Wow. Brilliant. Genius. Genius.
Crikey, that's blimey, that's ambitious.
But that must have meant it was cheaper as well, less fabric.
It doesn't work that way. Have you not seen the sort of clothes Annie wears and how much they cost? It doesn't work that way at all.
If she was bigger, it would have cost more.
Well, it should be that. It should be that, shouldn't it? Now, she says she's been on a healthy eating plan for ages. The weight isn't shifting. What can she do? Because she's desperate to get into her dress.
I think the first thing she should do, if the weight's not shifting and she's on a healthy diet, is to check with her doctor that she hasn't got an underactive thyroid or a medical problem that's getting in the way. That's the first thing to do. Secondly, look at exercise levels. She's limited mobility, yes, but as I said, with the aqua aerobics, there are things you can do, like swimming, which protect joints, which most people with mobility problems can still do. Okay. So look at that too. And then just re-examine the healthy eating plan. Is it as healthy as you really think?
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Because sometimes healthy eating doesn't necessarily mean low-calorie eating. It might be that she's eating healthily, but it's full of things that are not going to help reduce
or she's
weight.
simply eating too much.
Perhaps too big portion.
Or she's maybe, food intolerances are actually, not allergies, but food intolerances can often cause you to hold weight. Or if she's stressed, you can hold weight. So there's other areas that may need looking at with her.
OK, all right, good advice there.
I think she's going to get into that dress. Wendy, you'll do it.
Great.
I've got every faith.
And very loud, quickly, I'm pregnant. Not me, sorry, this isn't a huge announcement. Happy New Year. Stop laughing, Christopher Pickens. It's been a heavy Christmas. My tummy's bulging. No, this is, I'm pregnant. She's anonymous, this person. That's why I didn't say the name first. I'm pregnant, she says. My baby's due in 2 months, and 2 months before she's getting married. What can she do to keep her weight off? I don't think there's nothing you can do. It's going to get bigger, isn't it, that tummy?
Well, absolutely. But, I mean, she is going to put weight on, obviously, because the baby's growing. But what the baby's doing is taking everything from her. They hold no mercy there. They need to grow. So they will be taking nutrients such as zinc, and that's needed for the brain development. So when she's eating rubbish, it's because she's not balanced herself chemically. So she'll be craving sugars. Sort of more...
So look at the whole diet as a whole and make sure you've got all the nutrients you need.
She'll need calcium, she'll need iron, but she should try and avoid the stodge. Actually, some of the steroid build-up during pregnancy can make you feel really hungry all the time.
Steroid build-up?
Well, I'm talking about estrogen. Estrogen is a steroid, and so when there's a lot of estrogen on board, it's very easy to pick at things all through the day. But that's bad news. You don't want to put on too much weight during your pregnancy.
Very, very good advice. We've got lots more advice and tips from you on our website as well, GM.TV. Thanks very much indeed.
Now, as we've been saying, New Year often means a fresh start. It's a good chance to look at things that need changing.
Are you miserable at work? Do you need a complete change of life?
Don't we all? GMTV, apparently, might well be able to help. Can help maybe with a pay rise.
I don't know. Never been able to help me.
Never been able to help anyone with that.
Talking TV now. King of the small screen himself, Christopher Biggins, here with us. Good to see you, sir.
And do you know what I'm going to do is, talking about diet sticks, I thought I'd get one of those power plates. Have you heard about those?
No, what are they?
You wobble.
I do that anyway. I don't need a power plate for that.
No, you get on it and it vibrates. Oh. And you stand on one leg and stand on another leg.
What's
Sounds
that meant to
fantastic.
do?
I think what it does, it tones you up without actually going out and...
Can't you just put the washing machine on and sit
on top of it?
Oh, don't be so disgusting.
Well, no, but it's the same effect.
No, anyway, let's look at me in Millionaire. I was fabulous last night.
You were fabulous. Stop with your cheap diet tricks, Shepherd.
Yes.
I just thought I'd save the nation a bit of money.
Yeah, you're always sexual. That's my problem.
Who wants to be a millionaire?
Yeah.
You did, you weren't, but you were fabulous. Should we have a look?
Mr.
Churchill, was your gut feeling you've been right all night?
Well, no, but I'm probably wrong now. But
we've got 50.
Yeah. We'll go for it, Chris. We'll go
Winston
for
Churchill.
Winston Churchill. Final answer.
Final answer?
Final answer.
You had £75,000. You've just lost 25,000. Oh, guys.
It is a shame, but it's so nerve-wracking doing that, you know. And he is brilliant because, you know, he makes you feel on edge all the time.
So you were at £75,000?
Yeah, and then we could have gone to 50,000.
No, 150.
But you lost 25,000.
I know, but I thought it was worth
This is
it.
great, though. You did
Because we
well.
could have done. I mean, it was wonderful that we got to 50. I mean, we're fantastic. But
Shedding the pounds, quite literally.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Look at that. That was his panto voice. Oh, that's a cheesy one, Ben. We're moving on. There are reports in the papers this morning that the Rovers return. Corrie is going to get a facelift and become some kind of trendy wine bar.
I've just been speaking to Tina, who is not happy.
I bet she's not.
She's in
I'm
a fury.
furious.
She's in a coma, I think, actually. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, what's life coming to? First of all, you can't throw out sweeties at a pantomime. Now they're going to change the Rovers' return.
It's all gone a bit mad,
Too
hasn't it?
PC, I think. Come on now, look to it, ITV. You can't change
You can't
those
do that.
things.
Hopefully it'll be like when they tried to get rid of salad cream. There was a national outcry and it stayed.
Quite
Hopefully
right.
But they actually
it'll be like that.
found out that was just a marketing campaign.
Well, maybe
to
this is
boost
Corrie's
the
idea to
sales.
get the figures up. Maybe
And
it's
it
all
did
about
exactly
that.
Well, exactly. That's what it is. They want more viewers.
Exactly. Now, listen, they could get a few tonight if you tell us about what's going on in Corrie tonight.
Yes, well, Corrie is very interesting because, of course, there was the big fight over the wedding and things aren't... People don't quite know what happens. In tonight's episode, we find out what did happen and what is going to happen. So it's quite interesting.
Oh, let's have a look.
Oh, somebody got out of bed the wrong side this morning. Too much shampoo to do last night.
I don't know what's worse. The fact that I missed your wedding or the fact that you didn't even notice.
Hey, I can't remember a thing. It's just all a blur.
Oh, same here.
Right, then, are we all done?
Yeah, come on, time's marching on. How did that happen, then? Not rare groove enough for you, or did you just see pound signs in front of your eyes?
I just got told it was off. Asked to leave. No explanation given. Seemed like someone got cold feet to me.
Oh, so that's your soaps. What about films? I still feel slightly festive. It's quite nice to have a good movie.
It is, and we've got a very good one on tonight. Bruce Almighty with Jim Carrey, and of course the wonderful Morgan Freeman, and who's playing God in this.
Of course.
And there's a wonderful sequence now coming up where we were surprised by how many digits Jim Carrey has.
Oh.
There is lovely moments in that when it makes you think, what would you do if you were God for the day?
It's one of those things you end up chatting with your friends about, doesn't
And
it?
he's walking along and the skirts
It'd be
go flying up.
fantastic. Skirts going flying up.
Well, that's what he does in the film.
Oh, is that? Oh,
Yeah,
right,
it's
okay.
not me.
I thought it was you again.
Begin to stop it.
Now, there's a I know we're short for
You've got
time.
a point, Christopher, actually. You are a bit
Look,
saucy.
He is saucy. He's
You
got
are
that twinkle
saucy.
in his eye, too. Saucy,
Got a naughty
hasn't he?
New Year twinkle, hasn't he?
But before I go quickly, I'm fascinated, and I'm out tonight to see a pantomime. I'm going to see Stephen Fry's pantomime at the Old Vic, but I shall be Sky Plussing this. I'm fascinated by documentaries like The Half-Ton Woman, who's 64 stone, and because she wants to be around for her two daughters, she is going to have this surgery.
Fascinating.
But it says it's a sad story.
Channel 4, 9 o'clock.
OK,
weepy.
all right.
Sorry.
Ending on a sad note. Thanks for
thanks
that.
for
Oh, sorry.
Happy New Year.
Power play.
Happy New Year,
Yeah,
everyone.
exactly.
Yeah, go and wobble a
And
bit
wobble.
today.
Happy New Year.
See you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.